Supper, Deb Nation. This is Rich. Let's Go Warriors. We will have Dean on soon. There's a couple things going on here before we talk about Lauri. Number one, FYI, it's really, really hot here in Palo Alto. It's like 95 degrees out. And so I blasted the air conditioning. I had to move into my bedroom. So thank goodness. I hope my virtual background doesn't disappear suddenly because my bedroom's way messier than my family room. But yeah, the family room over there, and now you can hear the air conditioning. There's no way around this. It's just way too hot today, and there's no way to, I don't know, I guess I could turn it off for a little bit, and then just let me know if it's really bad. If it's really bad, the air conditioning noise, then I will turn it off and then survive for 5 minutes, then turn it back on because it's way too hot. All right, so it'll turn on and off today. And the other thing, I'm glad you brought this up, Pinky. I think it's time to move on from Klay, and this discussion today is going to help you do that. And then the other thing is that what we're going to do is really analyze this from a factual basis. We listened to a podcast that was super informative from a Utah podcaster. I'm not even sure if I forgot to check if he's, on the radio somewhere over there, but very intelligent podcast. And someone tagged Dean. Where's Dean? He's not even in the green room. But I kind of wanted to see him in the green room just in case, before I kind of do a monologue, and then we'll dive into it. So yeah. Okay. So let me just, so I will write the notes in the comments. So 2-minute mark timestamp, time to move on from Klay. My recommendation there is to watch the Klay, watch the Draymond podcast, number one. So watch the Draymond podcast from yesterday. And number two, read the Ramona Shelburne article, ESPN article from this morning. Okay. I don't want to talk about Klay today because it's just going to be, we're here to talk about Markkanen. It's time to move on. And the thing is that I'm at a point now where I'm back to loving Klay. Is Bruce on the stream? I don't know if Bruce is on the stream or not, in the live chat or not. But I'm not disgusted by Klay anymore. The combination of watching the Draymond podcast and reading the Ramona Shelburne behind the scenes stuff is like, I think it's time to just be happy for Klay and understand that it was just things happen. So I don't really need to say anything more than what Draymond has already said. So now let's get into Markkanen. And the reason why I'm here at this point ready to say that I really think it's going to happen is the sequence of events. Let me see. Let me go look at my Discord, and that's where I have my notes. Thank you, Dean. He's in the green room, but let me just give you a little bit of a background. First of all, okay, the main reason why I think it's going to happen is just simple logic of why else would D'Anthony Melton sign, sealed, and delivered? Kyle Anderson, signed, sealed, and delivered. Buddy Hield, that's in flex. But these three guys, like, why would they come here? Are you telling me that they have no better offers? There's no other NTMLE out there for D'Anthony Melton? I mean, the Lakers had one. Of course, the LeBron taking a pay cut for D'Anthony Melton, probably not the best optics out there. But I mean, functionally, there must be other teams that could take Melton. And it's just this morning it occurred to me like we've got to be really close to market. And it might even be a situation where Lacob's like, don't worry, D'Anthony. We're going to get him. You should come here because we're going to get him. Same thing to Kyle Anderson. And also why we're talking to Buddy Hield right now. That one might be a little bit, Buddy's a better player than the other two, makes more money than both of them. So there's that. And then I started doing more and more research, and then luckily came across this podcast by this guy, The Monty Show. So let's pull up the back screen real quick. And let me just I really didn't even have time to like write down all the YouTube links and whatnot. This is going to be like the Draymond podcast. This is going to be a ramble. I don't really have time. This is too urgent for me to just like take all this factual evidence and like write an article or like, come up with awesome back screens to lead you through it. All that. Nah, we just had to go live ASAP and just spill all the beans, as messy as that may be. So let's look up the Monty Show. I mean, if you guys would, I hate to say this, but this is such a great podcast that the Monty Show guy, what's his name? I don't even know his full name. Monty. Of course, my internet's acting up again. It always has trouble with Twitter. This guy, the Monty Show, just scroll down. This one's 2 hours and they embedded it in Twitter. This one, and plus I like YouTube. This one's the YouTube that's 50 minutes. It's this one. And I don't know their names, but it's the Monty Show. So I'm just going to say Monty. There's two guys and one of them's Monty, okay? And once I saw that one, it's like, wow, I learned so much. And I thought at first that there might be a hang up on, okay, what's the deal? Does it have to include, how many picks? Jonathan Kuminga, I mean, it was like a few days ago, I asked Dean, would you do the deal if Kuminga was in it? And even back then, we would do it. And then today, just by happenstance, I noticed that they had on 95.7 Sarah Todd. So this is my former colleague, actually. NBA Sarah, I think. Is it NBA Sarah? Yeah, Sarah Todd. She's a beat writer with Deseret News. And she used to be a beat writer in Oracle with me. It used to be me and her standing in the locker room, waiting for them to get done, showering and whatnot. And then every time David Lee would go up, she established a good enough relationship inside the locker room that David Lee would give Sarah the first question every single time, and it became a thing. It was really cool. So Sarah's cool. I don't know that she's really got tons of sources and really understands the salary cap and whatnot. But one thing that she said was that when 95.7 went down the list of who would you do the deal with for Markkanen, Kuminga? And she goes, yes. Wiggins? Nah. And then it's like, Podziemski? Oh, yes. And then that got me thinking, would I do the deal if Podziemski was involved? Unfortunately, I mean, I'd rather it not come to that. And then I asked Dean and got his opinion, and we both think that we would still do the deal with Pods. Now, I should do a scouting report on Lauri Markannen. I'm pretty sure we're not overselling Lauri. I'm pretty sure that he's worth it. But okay, so two things before I get to the but, or one thing and then the but. Those are the two things. So, and I was thinking, well, if I knew that I would eventually be able to part with Kuminga and Pods, I mean, then you're doing the deal. I mean, if Lacob decided through that push comes to shove, if Ainge cornered me in the parking lot and stuck a gun to my head, I would give him Kuminga and Pods. Therefore, I know I'm going to do this deal. Therefore, I'm going to tell Melton and Anderson that, hey, this deal's happening. So that's kind of just my logic of it. And then finally, the but is that because of this podcast, we no longer think the holdup is JK or pods or maybe one more draft pick or whatnot. It is getting off of Wiggins' contract so that you can pay Markkanen. Because Markkanen, what we learned from here is Markkanen needs to be paid like 34 million in order to get the max on the extension. So really, we think the problem right now is finding a landing spot for the Wiggins contract. So with that, I will now bring in Dean. Dean Chambers, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Rich?
Good to have you.
You too, man. Good to be here.
All right. So I think this was the proper format to do what I just did, because now I can catch up on the comments, and then now you can piggyback on my monologue and reinforce some of that and just get the wheels moving on this train. So go ahead while I catch up on notes in the description with timestamps, and then I'll hit you guys up in the comments and answer your questions there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think the part that you said about, Melton and Anderson, I can see them with, especially without Klay, seeing minutes next to Steph Curry as being very attractive and all that. I would hope that it's not a situation where there'd be any kind of tension if the trade didn't go down. But I do think the point you were making that, one attractive thing was that some deal like this was going to go down, and the fact that, you're saying, well, if it's necessary, we can kind of keep upping the ante. I think that's very important, because the Jazz are going to want picks and all that, of course, and I think our draft picks are pretty valuable considering they come after Steph's current contract is over at least, and when he's going to be 39 in the playoffs the next season after that contract, if he comes back to Golden State, of course. But I think Ainge would probably be very interested in that. Obviously, a guy like Brandon Podziemski is a very productive player on a very, very cheap contract, $3.5 million this upcoming year. So I think that this whole scenario is really bolstered too by the fact that it seemed like the Warriors were pretty close in a Paul George trade, and if that offer was fairly close on a team that's more willing to get young players who are, I think, if we have to go to the max, probably better than the Kings or the Spurs, young players, and picks that are not on teams that are young that could potentially be on the upswing, but on a team that's going for a championship window, whatever that means, trying to make the most out of Steph's championship window. I think that ought to be a pretty enticing offer, I would say, to the Jazz, who I'm going to say, unfortunately, being from Utah, have been stuck in starting out the season as the best team in the NBA for the first 10, 15 games, and then missed the playoffs. Being stuck in the middle as Monty meant, as the Monty Show, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his co-host's name, but as they were mentioning, being stuck not just in the middle of playoff contention, but being stuck, not being bad enough to get the highest picks in the draft, and also not making the playoffs is just, not where you want to be. And Markkanen is 27, I believe. He might be 28 by the time the playoffs roll around. But he's
Hasn't been to the playoffs yet.
he has never played in the playoffs. Not just that, it's not like he was injured. I don't think any team he's been on made the playoffs. So I might be wrong about that at some point with the Cavaliers or Bulls or something. But he's never played in the playoffs. And, well, I mean, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, they're all 20 to 21 years old, whatever group that, might go over to the Jazz, along with the pick swaps. That could be a pretty nice little generational thing too, that they're trying to build, and obviously there's been a lot of, well, not obviously maybe, but there has been a lot of hype about this upcoming draft, 2025 draft and 26 draft too. So
Yeah, I was texting Eric G a subset of me and yours text today, but one thing that came across was that next year's draft is awesome. There's going to be, he said, 10 up to like 10 franchise type players. Just crazy. I mean, I knew it was good. I didn't know it was that good.
Yeah, I think the 26th draft is supposed to be pretty good too.
Yeah.
The other part of this, right, is trying to clear enough cap space to get Lauri Markanen up to $34 million, so that and it would have to be traded and then we extend him, right? Because if he signs that with the Jazz, he can't do that until I believe it's August 6th, and you are prevented from trading that player for 6 months, which lands on February 6th, which is the trade deadline. So you'd have to clear that space now.
Okay. Dean, that is a huge factor in these negotiations, and the fact that Ainge is open to trading Markkanen. And I know that those of you who follow Tony Jones, it's not necessarily in disagreement, but it's a different perspective of everything that's happening around Lauri. So I just want you guys to know that if you were to go to Tony Jones's timeline, it doesn't necessarily mean that it disagrees with our excitement that we actually do think that Markkanen is going to be a Warrior. We just a lot of other things need to happen, in particular Wiggins, which Dean will talk about soon. But this point, and it's for me to explain it, I really have to like think it through. So that's why I'm glad Dean is here to be able to explain it probably better than I can. But it is an important one. So Dean, slowly go through the whole August 6th extension deadline for Markkanen, and then the 6 month you cannot trade him, which then is at the end of the trade deadline. So if basically, I'm going to let Dean take over. If Ainge extends him right now, he can't trade him for the whole season, because the trade deadline would be done by February 6th.
Yeah, I don't think Ainge can extend him right now. I think it has to be August 6th. Right?
Okay.
I think so.
So I may have gotten that part wrong.
Well, it's because I think it's set up to be on the trade deadline day, where whenever that extension is signed, you can't trade him in the middle of the season. Right.
Right. And I feel like his agent set that up, which is pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brilliant, really.
To do it so that if you extend them, you can't trade them. And then I need to sleep on that a couple nights, because why aren't more people doing that? Why aren't more agents doing that? But anyways, yeah, go ahead and get into that, please. Thanks.
Yeah. So basically, because of that August 6th extension, and the reason that's important, the reason adding this money is important, is that it helps Markkanen in his upcoming contract to get more money than he would get coming off of the $18 million, because it's 100 and something. What is 140%? Some, I can't remember what percentage it is, but it's the percent that you made last year. So if you raise it up to 34, you can get up to close to 47 million, which is a lot of money, no doubt. But that's cheaper than a lot of other wings, kind of large athletic wing or stretch four types that we've seen. Like LeBron's going to make a lot more money than that at age 40. So that's the reason for the whole need to not just match the $18 million salary, but probably try to clear some space. And again, we are hard capped at the first apron. We cannot go over that because of the non-taxpayer mid-level that we gave to DeAnthony Melton. Sorry, that we gave to DeAnthony Melton. So because of that, and I saw Ruby on here saying that I think it was that the Monty Show is not a good source. Maybe, but
Yeah. Are you looking at Rod M's comment from 603, which I just commented on?
No, but I can look at it.
How many people are saying Monty is not a good show? With a Y, Monty, not Monty Pool. We'll talk about Monty Pool when we need to talk about
603.
I'm way behind, so I'm at 6:03 p.m. So I mean, my answer to that these guys are BS. Just go watch the podcast yourself. You'll see that they're not. I mean, you can tell when someone just wants to do hot takes versus like us when someone wants to. They're not in it for clicks. They're in it because they're passionate about the Utah situation. That's all you need to do. On the other hand, like a radio station, and that podcast is not a radio station. On the other hand, a radio station, you already know they're after clicks. So it's not surprising to me that they would come out and throw these guys under the bus just because it doesn't go with a radio station's narrative. So hell yeah, I'm defending these guys, man, because go look at the podcast. That would be what I would tell you to do. Make you be the judge. And besides, in doing so, you'll learn a lot too.
And it just felt like a fairly in-depth place from a pro Jazz perspective that's not obviously also pro Warriors like me. I can give my take on it from Utah side, but I'm obviously also a Warriors fan more than they are, and it just felt like a good place to see how the Jazz might be looking at this. But I mentioned to Rich too, that I wonder if the Hield conversation could be related to the Utah discussions too, just because I looked it up and the 76ers have let's see. Went to spot track. Don't worry about the cap holds up top. They're including the cap holds. An active salary right now, and I might have missed a free agent that they could have signed today or something, but it looks like it's about 160.3 million. Right. So one thing that the let me get back to the stream here. One thing that the Monty Show podcast was bringing up was moving off of the Warriors moving Wiggins' contract in order to create that space, and that seems to just about work out. In terms of the Warriors' salary plus Melton and Kyle Anderson. Adding on to that, let's say $35 million just to be safe, and then subtracting that from the first apron, which we have to stay below. That's about $24 or so $1 million in Wiggins contracts, a little over 26 this year. So that made me think that perhaps the Hield trade discussions, and one of the reasons that it hasn't gone through yet, when a lot of other things in free agency have gone very quickly, is potentially linked to maybe something the Warriors are trying to do. With the Jazz. Oh, Ruben, I have no idea when I think the deal will be done. I think they're just going. I think it could happen quickly, or it could take until. Is it July 6th, the end of the trade? Well, it's probably. I don't know. I think it'll happen somewhat quickly if it's going to happen, but yeah. I don't really know how long it'll take.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know how long. I was thinking originally of LeBron wanting to get his thing done, which he did get done by Team USA, but really that has really nothing to do with this Markkanen deal.
Yep.
Golly. Rod with the 7 negative comments. Hope Rob left because I'm done with it. It's not even worth having in our live chat.
Well, that's a challenge, Rob. Can you say something positive about the team?
Challenge is Rob is having a bad day or life, one or the other. And it's not Markkanen or me or Dean looking depressed, quote unquote. That's bothering him. It's something else that's bothering him. And this is just one of many things he's gonna try to bully in order to feel better about that other problem. It's very Anakin Skywalker, in other words. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like Rod M has the capability of having any positivity tonight. So
we'll give him a chance. It's been an emotional time for Dub Nation.
Yeah,
and
but boy, golly, not just one comment. Let's spit out 7 of them.
Yeah, well, that's more and more the way people express themselves, I think, today, Rich. But we'll give them a chance.
Yeah,
I'm not depressed or anything.
I want people to be aware of what's happening out there.
Sorry?
I want people to be at least aware. So if you want to change yourself and you don't want to be addicted to this negativity, like opening up the Twitter app every single time and getting outraged about that stuff, there's a way out of it. And the way out of it is just come back here and I'll yell one of these live streams, eventually it'll click for you. Go ahead.
Well, Ruby, you don't need to throw him under the bus. That's, yeah. We don't, yeah. Just,
yeah.
It's okay. We'll give Rod.
I appreciate Ruby helping me out there, but yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
So we'll get down the comment list and keep going, Dean. Anything in terms of the overlap of the Buddy Hield talks?
I did find out something kind of interesting.
Oh, wow. Cool. Can't wait to hear it.
The Sixers do have some interesting draft picks. they owe a few to the Thunder. They owe a pick this upcoming draft to the Thunder, and 27 to the Nets, first round picks. But they have a bunch of let's see, Clippers and Thunder and Rockets picks. So they have. If we're talking about like Wiggins for Hield and a pick or something like that, that's not that much for them to give up, and that, you know, I don't know if Hield goes to the Dubs or to the Jazz, but that pick would certainly, I think, go to the Warriors, and that makes me think that could potentially be something that the Warriors are looking at. It's
Say
a
that
little
one
tough.
more time.
Well, just the Philadelphia 76ers have a lot of. They don't have a ton of their own picks, but they have pick swaps with other teams that they've traded with. Obviously, you know, Ben Simmons trade and the James Harden trade and things like that. I can't remember what the Thunder one was, but if you were to get Buddy Hield and a draft pick for Andrew Wiggins, that's not giving up that much for the 76ers. You know, it's giving up another team's pick and Buddy Hield, who didn't play all that much in their playoff run, you know, at a reduced cost, probably from, I think it was like $28 million or something his cap hold is. So he was making quite a bit of money off that Kings contract. But I wonder if that could be part of the deal going forward, you know, in terms of clearing up cap space and also getting Buddy Hield as a shooter, and sending another draft pick to the Jazz, you know.
How about the Jordan 11 in the comments saying, without Wiggins, the Warriors get nowhere with the small forward.
Where's the comment?
That's 6:08 p.m. But he's saying that the Warriors need Wiggins. So, what would you say to that? Considering we would need to. So the steps are trade for Markkanen, renegotiate his contract, either on or before. I don't know. I might be in disagreement with you on the August 6th thing. Whether
It's a little obtuse. What?
So I'm going to guess. I could be wrong. It's one or the other. But
yeah,
trade for Markkanen, give him an extension before the deadline of August 6th, or Dean says give him not. Wait. Are we renegotiating Markkanen's $18 million, or what are we doing?
It's an extension to that contract.
But he needs to be at 34 to get the max that
a
young player would want.
Yeah. So
we trade for him at 18 million.
Well, that's where you'd have to create cap space because we're hard capped, right? So you need to create $17 million extra from that contract.
You're sure?
Well, to get to about 35 million for Markkanen, right? It's 18 plus 17 is 35. So, I'll admit it's a little up in the air for me because not every player has been signed yet. So, yeah, I mean across the league and everything. But I'm pretty sure what the point that was being made and what I took from that was that you need to create cap space. So when you get Markkanen, you can add on that $16-17 million to get him up to about 34. I just put it up to 35 because I don't know the exact number, and it felt safer. And what Monty was talking about was that to do that, you need to move the Wiggins contract to a third team because he doesn't think that the Jazz want that contract.
Okay, so then step one, trade for Markkanen. His current $18 million contract. We know that Ainge can't really change that right now, right? Because if he does, then they can't trade him, and he can't trade him at all. So Ainge cannot alter Lauri, which is why I wanted to say which is why Ainge is open to doing this. But I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. It takes a while. It takes a few reps for me to really get this. And then, so how does Lauri's contract go from 18 to 34? What's the legal mechanism?
You can sign an extension, right, where you add on to a player's contract.
So next year he would make 34?
No, you'd be adding some of that money onto the contract this year, and it would be towards a max extension.
So when you say $18 million, so it's another $18 million extension? That's maybe the wording is confusing me. Because when you extend, I feel like it's add a year onto the existing one. I've never seen, although I've heard of it being possible. So what do? Rip up the 18 and then it be the new contract is 34 for this year, or what is the exact mechanism?
I'm not sure. I can look that up how it works because it's not something that I've seen a lot of. But I know that. Do you remember when we were talking about GP2?
Yeah, but he would opt out, so then he's a free agent, and then you sign him as a free agent for something less.
So you can't just renegotiate the contract like in the NFL, right? You can't just say, oh, we'll sign a new contract. If you want to keep that same contract, not have that player opt out and have to go through waiver wires, this stuff is very complex. I'm pretty sure though this is how it works, right? The only way you can do that is to add money onto that. Is to add more money onto that contract, right? You can't make it less. So,
okay,
I'm gonna try and get a firmer grip on that because again, it's something that I haven't seen that much for a contract that large because generally guys are wanting to, wanting to either sign an extension that means that's a normal extension, I guess, like what you're saying, with where it kicks in the next year, or they want to hit free agency and either re-sign with their own team using bird rights or whatever, or sign with a team that has cap space or do a sign and trade. So this is all a little new to me. I wasn't because
we just learned about that, getting Markkanen to 34 million just from the podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
And because that fact alone, knowing that fact, why would 95.7 throw them under the bus? 95.7 would have no clue about that contractual detail. And that proves to you that these guys deal with facts. And you go watch the podcast yourself. Are they being
they're deeply knowledgeable about the Jazz.
They're just deeply knowledgeable about the Jazz. And the most opinionated they got was when they said that, okay, it's great, Ainge, you're saying, we want to get a path to the championship. You just haven't given us a plan. Like we don't know how you're going to get there. And that was the most opinionated they got.
Yeah. And the trajectory of the team certainly seems like it would be probably a better idea for them to try and. The Jazz have never gotten number one draft pick, by the way. Not one that they were able to use. Magic Johnson was the Utah Jazz draft pick, but that got traded to the Lakers before he was drafted. So I do think the Jazz would want to, kind of tank. I don't know any other way to say it. Not that they'll, not that I think they're trying to be bad for years, but yeah, I think that's an important aspect to this is they probably value multiple shots in deep drafts more than we think, based on what we've been hearing, more than trying to build a contender eventually around Markkanen, who would he's 27, 28, 29, 30, it'd be 30, 31 by the time that extension's finished, And someone said, never mind. We don't need to address that. There is one thing I want to ask you, Rich. If we keep Kuminga, that extension, which I haven't looked into the max amount, but it's going to be fairly sizable. At least looking back at what Jordan Poole's extension was like with an increased cap. So you do wonder about that financially, especially with Steph still having that final year at about $59 million. But for this year, we can't go over 178 point. I forget, some 178.5 something million like that in the first apron. So the taxes are kind of legally bound to be a lot lower than that. I don't know if we'll be under the tax if we get Markkanen, but like we're under the first.
Tax. No.
Yeah, we're under the first. I shouldn't say I don't know. We won't be. And but we have to legally be under the first apron, and you can't just waste a Steph season. People have been angry about that, saying we've been wasting Steph seasons. With the trio, you just trust in them and write it out. But since Klay's gone, I think you kind of have to go all in on the player that you think would fit best and really complement Steph and Draymond and whether it's Kuminga or Wiggins or whoever it is. That to me that's a motivating factor, which is it's kind of unavoidable for where the Warriors are at, because you can't try and get a good pick in this year's draft with Steph Curry on the team. Anyway, we're just to calm everybody down out there. We're not the GMs. We're just trying to figure out what the GMs are doing.
I don't know.
It's not like we're
everybody.
Huh?
It's just, I don't know that it's everybody. It's the Sith Lord approach, where it's really just one or two, and then they ruin the entire republic.
All right.
So we got to be careful of that.
There are, let's see now, 257 people watching at the moment. Pretty nice.
A lot of questions. I think
57.
The way I look at the Buddy Hield thing is that I'm great that he's interested. The fact that, or I don't know that he's interested, that we're interested, but like, one cool thing is that Chris DeMarco is coaching him right now on the Team Bahamas.
Yeah.
And, Hield is doing some good things on offense now. I talked to a guy, my friend, who is a Sixers fan, and he says Buddy Hield's defense leaves a lot to be desired. But that's for another video. I just wanted to say outright that I'm not even really worried about Buddy Hield anymore because of the information that we know, especially the fact that it would be ideal for Markkanen to have a $34 million salary at some point this season so that he can get the max extension of like, what was it again, Dean? 40.
I think it's 46.7
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, which is
Something around
actually
there.
not bad for a player of his talent and skill. It's certainly not Paul George or Jason Tatum or LeBron level, so he's not like a superstar yet, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more affordable than, say, if Paul George had gotten to the Warriors. And
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm not really like, when you ask about Hield, it's just like, dude, I'm trying to find a place for Wiggins' contract so that we can make Markkanen happen. Because without Markkanen, I don't know that we get Buddy Hield.
Right.
Like, what's in it for Buddy Hield to do this sign and trade, to come here? And I mean, like, same thing for Melton and Kyle Anderson. And then I'm right back to the top, where I'm saying, the top of this live stream, where I'm saying, why would those two guys sign here if there wasn't an indication from the Warriors that they're going to drastically improve this team?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look at the timeline, wasn't the Paul George deal that was done? Clippers passed on that. Then we signed Melton. It wasn't like Melton was waiting for Paul George.
Well, Klay leaving too. That
obviously Klay.
Well, I mean, him signing that opened up the.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to make this a Klay video, but if you read the Ramona Shelburne article, I mean, that Klay was decided on like 6 weeks ago minimum, because of the golf invite by Lacob.
Right.
So they've been planning this at least 6 weeks ago, because they knew Klay wasn't coming back 6 weeks ago. And that's where, this isn't a Klay video, we should do one, but that's where the fans and NBA media, we get our information so late. And this is an example where it was really late. 6 weeks ago, Lacob invited Klay to have one last talk on the golf course, and Klay said, we'll play golf, but that's it. And it's cool. And I'm cool with it now.
Yeah, me too.
So
and obviously
then the pursuit for Paul George, and then Melton signs. So I think Lauri Markanen has been plan B the whole time. And it's a strong pivot.
He was my plan A.
I know it has been your plan A for the longest time. Yeah.
I had to live,
Dean,
just because
to calm your nerves, Dean, on that, because I know if you worked for Mike Dunleavy, you'd be like, "I told you so, Mike. I told you so. We should be going after Lauri a long time ago." I would tell you that, but Paul wanted to come here, whereas Lauri is like, "Give me some options." Paul's like, "Yeah, I want the Warriors." And then
no, I totally understand that. Yeah, I mean,
as Draymond
stars who are like, "I want to come to your franchise." Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
I don't.
Draymond said last night, he's pissed at the Clippers because the Clippers seemingly, again, this is not a Draymond live stream, but something to the effect of, the Clippers made us believe that we were going to get Paul George, and it didn't happen. But we weren't giving up J.K. the whole time, which is great. It's great to know.
Yeah. I do feel like Lauri's the kind of player, to me, and he's not a perfect player. No one's saying that. But he's the kind of player to me where, I'm going to be honest with you, there's so many moving parts here. Mm-hmm. I'll accept kind of anything so long as it's a win-win trade. I don't want to give up everything we have for one piece. I don't want to give them nothing, in terms of proper compensation for Markkanen. And Danny Ainge is a very shrewd especially in like trades and stuff like that. He's a very shrewd operator. But to pair, if we were able to keep Kuminga, to pair Steph's, well, I think Steph's can still be maybe the best scorer in the NBA, just in terms of volume and efficiency and everything like that. You know, Draymond's playmaking. You know, if it's Kuminga, his ability to drive the ball and just be an explosive athlete, and Markkanen's you know, a kind of ISO game, but he doesn't take a long time with the ball in his hands. I just think, you know, one benefit is if you're talking to Lauri Markannen, and I think it is Lauri Markanen, not Lauri, but I could be wrong about that. But if you're talking to Markkanen, you show him two bits of film, and that's Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant. And I'm not saying he's either of those guys. He's a different player than either of those guys. But just the sets that, you know, you're able to put those two players in. If it's Wiggins, I think our defense is better. If it's Kuminga, you know, keeping that slasher, keeping that, you know, driving force to the hoop. I think that has to be very attractive to Markkanen himself. And again, just in terms of if we're up in the ante and the Warriors are dedicated to getting Markkanen, now that has to be predicated on what other teams are offering, you know, a little bit. So, well, you know, and also what the Jazz want. But again, just the quality of the picks, as I said before, potentially coming after, you know, Steph is past 38, might be retired, might not be, but you know, that's I think that would be very attractive to Ainge. Whereas you never know with the Kings, you never know with the Spurs. Although the Spurs, that, you know, the Kings, I don't know what their draft situation is, but I know they made a couple trades, like for Sabonis.
Are you answering a comment about the Kings and Spurs, or why are you bringing them up right now? But I will say that Monty Show did bring up Kings and Spurs, and so did Tony Jones, longtime Jazz beat writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think.
Why'd you bring them up in your mind?
I was just trying to compare the two teams that I think are really competing with us if the Jazz do trade Markkanen, and looking at, like, well, the Kings could throw in some good players, but those picks, you know, if you put Markkanen on the Kings with Sabonis and Fox, and they're all in their 20s, those picks are going to take a while. Probably it's easier to justify saying that those picks will take a while to be like lottery picks, and the same with the Spurs with, you know, Wemby and Markkanen and who did they draft again? Was it Topic?
Keep going, but just don't forget to look at it from Lowry's point of view of picking, you know, a destination like Sacramento or San Antonio or the Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those, all three of them, I think, would be very interesting, you know, places to play. Obviously, San Antonio has an international connection, and you know, Markkanen and Wemby could be pretty enticing. As I said, Fox and Markkanen and Sabonis. You know, that could be a. I think that could be a pretty interesting big three, I guess. Although I think that term's a little overused. I do think that could be kind of an interesting big three. But the chance to play with Curry and Draymond under Coach Kerr in a system that seems to fit him as well as any that I've seen, and especially if we were to keep Kuminga and have another young star next to him, I think, from Markkanen's perspective, I think that has to be in the immediate future in terms of looking at the roster around him and the likelihood of being able to compete in playoff games. There's no comparison. The Spurs haven't made the playoffs since Kawhi left. No, I'm sorry. The Spurs haven't. I don't think they made it out of the first round since Kawhi left. The Kings made the playoffs once in 17 years, and I don't think they'll keep missing the playoffs. But the 2023 team at least was fairly competitive against the Lakers, right? This team, all the problems it had, 46 wins is not anything to sneer at, especially considering how close a lot of those games are. So, in terms of the likelihood of, being able to go deep in the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs made a push for that, and the Kings too. But they just, they just don't have Steph Curry creating all that gravity around you, and you being able to have two Hall of Famers playmaking for you. And again, there's all these moving parts, with Wiggins or Kuminga or I don't know, Moody or BP or perhaps Looney or GP2. We don't know if this trade were to go through exactly what these teams want, but we should have enough pick swaps. And I think the Warriors pick swaps would be quite enticing too, just because of the same reason the picks are, right? But we would have all these picks and pick swaps, young players, and talent around Markkanen left, where I think for Markkanen and for the Jazz, if the Warriors really want to up the ante, I think those other teams, it would take a lot to beat that offer, really. So, I don't know if it will happen or not, but I'd like to hear that the Warriors are. I think NBC Bay Area said they were the aggressors on the trade market, and also hard to see another move that could really improve the team that drastically around Steph and Dray for the final few years of their contract. Okay. There's a ton.
One thing I'm realizing is reading comments and listening to you is impossible. So I just hope you covered stuff that
we're getting a ton of comments anyway. Thank you guys so much. We'll try and get to some of these good ones here.
Utah wants to get off. Utah wants to get off Collins' contract. How far am I behind? 6:40. Oh, I'm not that far behind. 6:49 p.m. Uncle Looney. Utah wants to get off Collins' contract. Yeah, I don't know if it's with us though. That's maybe a separate deal for Ainge.
Yeah, I think there's also a possibility that's
space for Lauri.
That Sexton and Clarkson might be part of that too. Just a complete rebuild with a bunch of picks and and stuff like that. And someone asked, how many picks does Danny Ainge want? enough swings at the bat where if you get especially high lottery picks, which of course you can basically control their contract for about 8 seasons, at a fairly good price too. But as many swings at top players like that as he can get, and I'm sure some of you have heard that the Boston Celtics are this year's NBA champs. Well, Danny Ainge set that up by, now this is more older players being traded away rather than a guy being hitting his prime years, 27 to 33 maybe nowadays. So it was a little bit different, but he set it up where they got all these picks, and they had they also just got, they were amazing picks. Like he really nailed those picks. But that's the thing that really makes me think that like Ainge could want to trade all of these pieces, and it's not exactly like Markkanen will be hard to move. It's just that the Warriors have the need, have the assets, and are willing to pay money, right, to get it done. I mean, pay the money in terms of not having Markkanen be a 1-year rental, and maybe some other teams that get him, he might want to explore free agency or something like that. You never know. If we miss the playoffs again, of course, that's a terrifying possibility. But you can't think that way. You can't go, you have to think about it, but you can't think like, oh, we're going to miss the playoffs, because I don't know how much you guys have seen him play, but he can really score the ball from anywhere. He's 7 feet tall. He's a pretty excellent rebounder who can shot block. Now, he hasn't played 70 games. I think some of that in Utah was the team trying not to win by the end of the season, and just sitting him a little bit more. And his passing is not bad, but he's not too much of a playmaker, or he's not too much of a he's not going to dime guys up all the time. He's averaging like 2 assists and close to, or a similar number of turnovers. But again, in the Dubs offense, having a 7-footer who can score in isolation like that, who's actually fairly athletic as both a lob threat as a rim protector, who's an excellent rebounder, who shoots 39% 3. That's just exactly the kind of.
I'm gonna interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want this to be a how good is Lauri video. Like,
oh, okay.
There are certain assumptions about this video. It's not about Klay. It's not about Draymond. It's not about how good Lauri is, because you can go and do X's and O's, and you can do that. And really, I'm not even worried about how good Lauri is. I'm worried about how bad he is. Like, you'll see when we do game live streams, I'm always looking for the warts. Like, Steph is turnovers. So if Steph can increase his decrease his penchant for turning the ball over, we'll be better next year. And so on and so forth. So I would actually be interested in what is Markkanen not good at, and then I would want to see tape of him not passing the ball as well, and so on and so forth. But as far as like questions, like a good question from Uncle Looney way back at 6:52 p.m. If Lauri's so great, then why don't the Jazz build around him? That's actually a good question. Well, according to the Monty Show, it's because they just have trouble developing players, and they have tried. And you'll have to look at the podcast for some of the more of the nuances. And then they even have issues with the plan of improving Utah. What if we're just hoarding picks and we can't develop any of them? So that kind of sentiment leads me to believe that I think even Lauri probably goes, yeah, this is probably not a championship team. Utah.
I think there is a distinction there, though. I'm not. Sorry.
Well, we're off a little bit, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there is a little distinction there. I'm not sure they're saying the Jazz, by the way, can't develop players. They were saying they can't re-sign their own free agents. They keep leaving, you know. And I think
got that as well, but then I also got the part where they're not confident that the team that they cover is able to develop players.
Hmm.
You maybe missed that part. Did you watch the whole 2-hour thing? The Twitter.
I did.
You did?
Yep.
So yeah, maybe out of the 2 hours, that slipped out. Whereas the YouTube version is 50 minutes, kind of focused on Lauri and everything. But that was like one of my takeaways on why don't they just build around Lauri in terms of like, I mean, Ainge is going to try, so they're just constantly trying, is my thing. But and they also said basically that like Ainge has a high bar. I want all of this, X, whatever it is. Count whatever guess of picks that you want. Go get it. Well, the Warriors are trying to go get it. And what they're doing is they're trying to trade out Wiggs to get it. Whatever it may be, X number of picks. So that's kind of the thesis of this video tonight. It's really about where can they find Wiggs a landing spot. I think that's what this is morphed into. Before, I started the day thinking, oh, is it that Ainge might want J.K.? And then also Pods, which, by the way, Brandon Podziemski, I mean, he's like the equivalent of he's an all-rookie player, right?
Yeah,
so that's the draft pick that, I mean, you don't even have to pick. You already know you're getting a great player. Anyways, but this is not a Podziemski or a Kuminga analysis video. It's just that it morphed from, is that what they're hung up on? And then slowly realizing, and then finally finding this podcast to look inside of the Jazz, that Markkanen is looking to increase his $18 million contract to 34. And to do that, we're going to have to move somebody. Who's the most obvious one to move? It's Wiggins. And then also, hey, you might be able to get this or that draft pick for Wiggins. I know he's a depressed asset. So then you call every team and you try and negotiate something more, or I don't know what they're doing, but that's what they get paid the big bucks for. And if I knew any more than what I know now, then I'd be working for them and probably making a whole lot more money. But that's also part of it, where people in the certain, just a couple, Sith Lords, there's not a whole lot of Sith Lords out there on Let's Go Warriors. Most of us are, good Jedi, and I know if you're watching The Acolyte, I know the Jedi have problems, but I mean, like, the more altruistic ones, the more positive thinking ones, like Luke. But anyways, I digress. It's like, see, now that I got talking about Star Wars, now I can't stop thinking about it. But where sometimes it's not just about sources. Sometimes you need, salary cap implications and interpretation. And I think that my going through the exercise of trying to find some optionality out there with our roster at the end of the season, like we lost to Sacramento, and shortly thereafter, I texted Dean and I made a whole video of this way late, which was a week ago. And that video was the non-taxpayer mid-level idea. So before this whole thing started, 13 days ago, I said, hey, guess what, guys? If we pay Klay $24 million and we get off of Gary Payton's contract, redo it, whatever, get off of Looney's contract, we could go get this non-taxpayer mid-level exception. 13 days ago, nobody knew what an NTMLE was. Now everybody knows what it is because that's what was used to sign Melton. But this going through this spreadsheet exercise, and I checked the math with Keith Smith. So he gave me the thumbs up. Yeah, that idea is solid, Rich. So then that's what made me confident to just make a video out of it. But in doing that spreadsheet, I realized that, hey, if we pay Klay $24 million, we can have a little wiggle room. We can actually get somebody. Like before, we can't get anybody. We have too much committed in salaries. And we don't want to getting under the luxury tax line is just kind of another thing that Lacob said on the podcast. But this would have given you the ability to change your roster. So doing that kind of gave me the figure of Klay $24 million. That's why I can now look back at today's article in ESPN where Ramona Shelburne, great piece of reporting. She got the number, Dean, the whole time, right? In this live stream, I was like, the last live stream that we did, Klay, what are you doing? Like, and this Klay's options, we're sitting there going, what is the number? We need to know the number so that we can finally, figure out who to blame for Klay leaving, And then it turns out it's 20 million and only for 2 years. And man, Klay was really generous with that. And so understanding that 20 million wasn't even enough for Lacob to do these massive changes, it tells me that they wanted to do more of a massive change rather than, it's moving parts too. Klay is also thinking, yeah, that's it. I'm gone. So 6 weeks ago, golf course thing. And so understanding just kind of the weight of some of these contract issues, I think goes a long way in respecting what players and their agents and what teams are looking to do. And then you marry that with the rumors that you're hearing. And then that's where you get into like, oh yeah, those are good sources. Oh yeah, those are not good sources and things like that. So that information you get from Anthony Slater is probably pretty solid. Ramona Shelburne, probably pretty solid. I said in one of the videos, Mark Stein, he lives in Dallas. He's been doing Mavs insider stuff forever. That's 99% solid. And it became true with the Klay thing. I just didn't realize how far along the path they were, because going back to the whole Klay thing, just to summarize, Dean and I always thought that if we got the last meeting, which was that golf course meeting with Lacob, then we would be able to convince Klay to stay. But the timeline was actually reversed. It was because Klay had already made up his mind on that. He had just had enough, being the miserable thing that they're writing about in all the articles, right? Yeah. So the final meeting was made irrelevant because Klay already made up his mind. So and then Dean and I will take this knowledge into the next 10 years of following the Warriors, right? So now Dean and I are thinking there's going to be a final meeting and this has to happen, then the final meeting, and then maybe that's where Steve and Steph can convince him. No. Klay told Lacob never to involve Steph. Like, I don't want Steph messing in our negotiations, which then also watching Draymond's podcast, I kind of realized that, oh yeah, players respect each other. They're not going to meddle in your free agent negotiations. So that's something to take into the next 10 years that I learned from this experience, right?
Yeah.
So back to the original question is that Dean and I don't have sources. In fact, I do. It's just that I'm not fed that type of information. I have sources.
I don't have any.
They're
other than Rich.
They're not like business sources. They're, friendly terms sources. as most of you can guess. What kind of guests have I had on the live stream? Are my guests business sources like this salary or this Warrior salary cap expert or that Warriors assistant coach or that Warrior scout? No, I don't know any of those guys on a personal basis. I mean, like Johnny West follows me and he looks at my stories. Okay.
Hey.
But I like those guys. I don't want to know because I want to respect their job. And if they told me something and they probably have the discipline not to, the only people they would tell are like really, close, I don't know, friends and family members.
Right.
But those people have no risk whatsoever. They don't have any ability to go live in front of, whether it's 100 people, 222, like right now, or whatever. They're not going to spill the beans. Whereas if they told me, I might spill the beans. I don't care if I took an oath, so I'm never going to have those level of sources because they're hard to get, number one. But number two, I don't think I'd want that responsibility. I kind of don't. I thought about this today. I didn't want to know how the Klay thing was going because had I known about that golf course thing with Lacob 6 weeks ago and that's it, then this whole time I would have been like screaming into the tidal wave of guys, don't be mad. It's like, it's not really going down like this because just trust me. I know it's not, it's actually done. And like, dude, you guys aren't going to listen to me. Right. So I just had to take the information that I had and make you and I here make that passion plea that just wait, it's not a done deal. They maybe can still get another meeting when in fact we were very wrong about that.
We were wrong about that.
The final meeting was the first meeting for Klay, right?
Yeah.
So
free agency,
what I've learned is that don't get too impassioned about it, even if it's to encourage everybody to think positively that Klay is going to come back, because you might be missing the elephant in the room. You might be missing the one piece of information that just, makes the entire live stream irrelevant. But that being said, I will conclude my little rant by saying I'm always going to take the stance of I'm going to give you guys something to positive to root for. I'm not going to be 95.7. I'm not going to be Rod M in the comments. Coming on
Rod
here
said some positive stuff.
just to do Rod M's first 5 comments.
Yeah.
Rod M has since done better, so I appreciate you, Rod.
Hey, there you go.
Maybe I was a difference. But yeah, okay. Look. I just threw Rod M under the bus, and I vowed not to do that. See, so every time on here, you try and learn, get 1% better. So I apologize for that, Rod. No, but I mean, I would rather come on here and give you like 10 factual reasons to be positive about something, rather than just dump on X, Y, and Z with all these hot takes. Hot take. Ooh, that's a good one, Rich. Way to burn them on that one. And like, ooh, ha ha ha! What a joke that actually threw so and so under the bus. Like, I'm not that stand-up comedian type. I don't want to be. I think there's too much of that right now. You need something different. You need, and actually in real life, to be positive takes a lot of factual things. Like, the reason why I'm a positive person is not because like oh, kumbaya, or like, oh, I believe in Mercury retrograde and all this stuff. No, it's actually based on quantum physics, the fact that there's dark matter and dark energy out there, and knowing that there's a bigger purpose or a bigger explanation of everything out here, knowing that we should have gratitude for this thing called basketball and NBA free agency, and this subject matter that we're so passionate about because we love beautiful basketball when it works, such as Draymond handoff to Steph, pass back and another handoff. Okay. that's why you don't trade Draymond, to answer the other comment. Like that type of stuff we should always be grateful for. That's why I don't like to use the words, we can't waste Steph's career. Stop it. Why are you thinking that way? It's like we're trying our darndest. Dunleavy and Kirk Lacob and Joe Lacob are trying their darndest, and Johnny West, to improve this team. And to me, they're really going above and beyond the Call of Duty. So again, I'm not a hot take guy, but I got to figure out the words of what it is that we do. Maybe it's Zen takes, but like I could swing and miss, and we swung and we missed on the Klay thing, where I was up here pleading for everybody. It's not over yet. You never know, right?
It was still a great mental exercise, though, on all of it, And I think anybody who watched that, hopefully, what they got out of it was like, okay, well, Klay had made a final offer to Lacob, and however that went down. Okay, well, we weren't right about that, Klay. That's
also I had thought that one more thing, and then I'll stop. I had thought that Klay being spiteful and wanting to leave the Warriors had ultimately ended him up with a $12.8 million NTMLE offer from the Lakers. But I had done the exercise that had he just took the 24 million, we wouldn't even be here. In fact, it was 20 million, which is still much better than 12.8. Okay. But the thing we didn't account for is how badly Dallas wanted them and how badly he wanted to go to Dallas. And by the way, I said this in a comment to somebody negative out there on our channel somewhere. Klay pulled out 2 aces, World Series of Poker. You're like, what do you got? Freaking 2 aces. He went to the NBA Finals runner-up. You can't ask for more than that. So I'm on here on this live stream going, come on, Klay, Lakers, 12.8 million? And then we looked at the salary cap of Dallas. We're going, nah, there's no way. There's no way they can do this. And we were right. We were right on some of our things. Like, we don't want Josh Green. Are you kidding me? Right? We said that. And true enough, we didn't want Josh. We wanted the traded player exception to do the Kyle Anderson deal, right? Or was it
That's right?
Yeah.
No,
so anyway, to close, because I tend to ramble on these things. Even if I swing and miss 10 straight times, I don't care. I'm just like Klay. I go 0 for 10. I'm going to shoot that 11th one. But it's always going to be with A, positivity, and B, positivity backed up by science, just like I do positivity in real life. The stuff that I do, the meditations, the calming your brain waves from beta to alpha, backed by science. Not only that, epigenetics, backed by a lot of things. It's backed and quantum physics. And then you start getting into quantum physics, you're like, damn, this is nuts. This is really nuts. Like 95% of the universe we can't see. We can't sense with our normal senses. That kind of stuff. So go look it up. It's science, actually. I'm not just making that stuff up just to be positive. It's like the reason why I'm positive is because I'm an engineer at heart. I got an electrical engineering computer science degree from Cal. I followed my dad's footsteps. I got an A+ in calculus in college. Okay. I didn't do so well after that because wave functions, which ironically is quantum physics, it just went over my head. But like I just recently got back into quantum physics just from like a cursory point of view, just to see what it means to the universe. And I tell you what, man, that stuff is bonkers. Even Einstein was surprised by quantum physics and stuff like that. And it's all of those together. It's the same formula. So on my drive back home doing errands, I went and got me a iPhone 15 Pro Max to use at Team USA this Saturday. So all the content on YouTube that's coming this Saturday is based on today's errand to the Apple Store. Now I don't have that type of money, so I'm going to return the phone, which they said was okay to do. So I'm going to go use it,
great,
and then return it. So that's, and on that drive, I started thinking, that's what Let's Go Warriors is. I'm getting closer and closer to explaining what it is that we do. It's that we're the Klay Thompson that goes 0 for 10 and then shoots that 11th. But one of these days, we're going to be right with all these positivity things, backed by salary cap analysis, me knowing a lot of the beat writers, me knowing who people are, not necessarily sources, but knowing people who have sources, stuff like that. One of these days, I'm going to be right. And then what? Right? Just keep doing it.
And so, you're not saying that we've been wrong all the time either. Like, I think
it hasn't been 0 for 10. The only thing that really stands out was the Klay situation. I read that completely wrong. But how could I have? Everybody read it wrong.
Yeah.
Ramona Shelburne's article.
I'm not entirely sure Klay really had this set in stone. I think he just wanted a new environment without the dynasty hanging over his head. And
sure, but 6 weeks ago, Dean, that's the main thing. It was well before.
No, I know the fact that he might not want to come back, but I'm not sure if he knew where he was going, or I don't know. I mean, he could have.
Well, so here's why you want to stick with me, despite the fact that all my positivity could lead to even the wrong conclusion, is that Sam Amick had the most people talk about the Warriors don't know who said what. Okay. But I'll tell you, Sam Amick, writer for The Athletic, who I know on a personal basis, he's a really good guy. He heard that Dallas had interest the moment Sacramento beat us. He had intel that Dallas was interested in Klay. Now, nobody knew Dallas would go to the finals at that point. So, things still had to align.
Mm-hmm.
But could have started way back then. And man, you tip your hat to Dallas and you tip your hat to Klay. They found a way to get together. Like, they really needed him and he really needed them. And that's why I have no problem with it at all. It's almost serendipity,
Yeah.
And then again, choosing the positive route, just like Draymond said last night. You could look at it and go, oh, this guy, that he said, she said, he said, she said, but on a cursory level, Draymond knows to look at it from a positive perspective. We do that anyway.
Well, I mean,
we don't even have to try.
Wouldn't it be kind of beautiful if both teams, like if the Warriors get Markkanen and, both teams are really great and both teams are closer to competing for a title than they were late April 26th or whatever it was, because Klay wanted to go do his thing, wanted to go to the Western Conference champs, wanted to play next to two other Hall of Famers, in at least an offensive system where, I mean, you stick Klay Thompson in the finals tape for the Mavericks last year, and that those are some closer games. So, as you said, this isn't a Klay Thompson video, but the positivity that it's not just positivity. It's just calm, trying to think through everything and trying to figure out what's going on. Someone, who was it? I want to try and find that comment if I can. Well, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't remember who commented this, but someone said without those videos, they would have been so,
Oh, really?
Upset when Klay left without thinking through all of that and kind of figuring out what options were open. I think, to be fair, I think those videos are interesting in that we did kind of narrow it down to the Lakers and Mavericks too, you know, and you know what? A lot of people are wrong anyway. I'd rather be sticking my neck out there, you know, trying my best to understand as many perspectives on a situation as I can, and you know, well, I guess a lot of this is just trying to think about everything and like, how can we make this a win-win? You know, yeah, you want to win the most, which means someone else has to lose. But in everything else, in basketball games, I mean, but in everything else, you know, if you can try and find a way, like, well, how can we make this a win-win? Even if it doesn't happen, you'll have if you try it, I promise you, you'll have not just a deeper understanding of the sport, a deeper understanding of the front offices or whatever, but you'll really appreciate everything that goes uh, into trying to build this collective organism out of all these individual, very talented, very very prideful, you know, and I mean that in a good sense, obviously, not arrogant or anything, but you know, very talented, very prideful groups of, if we're being honest, you know, whoever was the best basketball player at your high school or your college, that's probably, you know, 15th man on the NBA bench, right? So they're all great at this sport, at this thing that they've dedicated themselves to. And it's so much more interesting to me to try and think of like even with this whole wasting Steph Curry's final years or whatever. It's like, no, we're trying to, now that there's different, well, now that there's Mike Dunleavy instead of Bob Myers, which is a big difference. Now that, you know, the Warriors didn't make the playoffs last year and missed the playoffs 3 times in the last 5 seasons. Now that Klay's gone and all that, it's just like, okay, well, what's a way for the team to approach this from a new you know, perspective than they had with the trio or the Trinity or, you know, Big Three, whatever you want to call them. And by doing that, you can come to a conclusion like we came to, that the Warriors should be aggressive for somebody, and who's that person likely to be? And you know, I think it's interesting that you and I both like Markkanen and Kyle Anderson. Going back, you know, obviously, again, I'm from Utah. I watch Jazz a little more, so I brought that up earlier. But you know, after the trade deadline, I didn't really think about it much, and then you and I both really started thinking about Lauri Markanen and Kyle Anderson. And if we've been stuck in the mindset of this is the end, everything is done, and you know, maybe this is a season where we shouldn't even try and compete. You know, I don't know how the season's going to go. It could be a disaster. It could be mildly good or bad. It could be a miraculous triumph. I don't know, but it's really hard to envision, you know, positive steps that you personally would like to see your team your favorite team take, or in my case, both of my favorite teams take, I guess to achieve what it is you feel they need to achieve, whether that's finally getting a couple very high lottery picks who really pan out, hopefully, on Jazz, or whether that's getting a kind of mid-range killer stretch 4 type on the Warriors. You won't be able to think that way. Not to go off on too of a tangent, but you won't be able to think that way when I guess when you're ready to give, I don't know, say give up, but just kind of not look at the opportunities still around you,
All right, Keegan Murray. I bet that one is from a Sacramento guy, huh?
Where are you looking?
It's not even important. We don't really need to talk about Keegan Murray and all that. I mean, it's under the context of Warriors versus Spurs versus Sacramento for the quote unquote sweepstakes of Lauri.
I'm sorry, what? Can you say that again?
The Keegan Murray comment by Rod M isn't really a big thing, but since you and I have pretty much said everything that we wanted to say, got it off our chests, I think the Keegan Murray discussion is probably coming from a Sacramento guy, and in relation to Sacramento and San Antonio being the other teams that I forget why they were mentioned, but I guess Sacramento and the Spurs are in contention as well for Markkanen. I don't know. I mean, do you remember how we got to Sacramento and San Antonio?
I just been hearing them mention San Antonio in particular, but Sacramento as well by the Monty Show and by San Antonio in particular.
Tony Jones.
Probably.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that both Sacramento and some reports that I've been hearing about the Warriors are saying, Keegan Murray or Jonathan Kuminga not really on the table. I find that interesting. Yeah. I wonder if Ainge is viewing this as a bunch of moves to be made throughout the season. Again with Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and John Collins, and all those kind of guys.
But who cares for our purposes, right?
No, I just wonder. I wonder how much they want Kuminga is what I'm saying. Or whether that's
you wonder how much what?
I wonder how much the Jazz are, or like where the Jazz value Kuminga.
No,
because I know the Warriors value.
They don't. I mean, they do. Kuminga is not part of this. Like, I wouldn't worry about that. That's part of the other thing that I'm saying. That, I mean, I do need to sleep on that a couple nights, but the whole notion, and the Monty Show kind of mentioned it too, is that Ainge has a list of requirements to get Markkanen.
Mm-hmm.
That list doesn't necessarily include Kuminga, and you're not going to go, oh, but what about this? Instead of that, we give you Kuminga. No, that's not Ainge's MO, right? He has this list, and that's what it is. The good news
is true. Yeah.
Kuminga's not on that list. So guys, don't worry about it. We're not trading Kuminga. I don't see it happening. Now, Kuminga factors in that, do you need to take it to the next step? And would you be willing to do it? Dean and I would be willing to do Kuminga, which gives us more confidence.
Yeah.
Like knowing that drastic move you would still do gives you confidence to really work on this. Now, let's say they go around and they shop Wiggins and just can't get enough to meet the Ainge XYZ. Then maybe you do the desperado thing. But I went down that road with Klay, right? I've done the desperado theory with the Klay example, and I wasn't right on that. So I don't know what to think about that. But I just don't think Kuminga's part of this, and by extension, Podziemski. It's Ainge wants A, B, C, D, E. Do that because he's Ainge. All right, we're doing it. We're trying to get Wiggs to get. We got A, B, and C. Now we need D and E. And we also need Wiggs to do that to fit Markkanen. So that's kind of how I shifted my thinking throughout the day by looking at this, looking at tweets from, like I said, Sarah Todd doesn't have sources nor the salary cap expertise, but just stuff that she said on the radio, just kind of go, she knows the obvious. They would love to have, the fan base at least would love to have Kuminga and Pods as some kind of a trade.
Right.
So then that got me thinking that, I probably would do Pods. But then watching this podcast, it was like, but Ainge might not even be thinking about that. The real issues are Ainge has a list. It's probably draft picks. It has to be. What else could it be? Paul George isn't on there, It's not, it's not who else is. It's not Donovan Mitchell.
And that's why I think there's a chance of a total rebuild of all their vets if Markkanen goes, Don't you think?
Total rebuild of all their vets, meaning the Jazz will clean house.
Yeah. If they trade Markkanen,
they're having trouble trading Collins, I bet, for the right, because he's overvalued at $35 million or something like that.
Is it $35 million this year? Oh man, I thought it was.
Oh, let's look it up.
That was last year.
26. Okay, that was last year.
Yeah. Oh, it's 26 again. It's the exact same.
It still feels.
Oh no, that's this year. Yeah.
Well, anyways, I want to get caught up on that. So, it's just that's why this is so scatterbrained. This whole live stream is scatterbrained, because I'm just connecting dot after dot, and it's leading me to that the Warriors are trying to, and granted, I will give the Monty Show the most credit on that. It's leading me to that the Warriors are trying to find a landing place for Wiggins in an effort to get D and E out of A, B, C, D, and E for Ainge.
And also probably to create space to sign Lauri to the contract that he wants. Yeah.
So that's why answering Striker 30's question is why Lacob didn't take the 2 for 40 from Klay was just, I think that's a good question too. But I think that they did the math on the Paul George pursuit. And while they wanted Klay the whole time, my guess is that it wouldn't work unless Klay came back at less than 20. So why are you going to just lowball Klay any further? That'd be really disrespectful. Okay, Joe, I'll come back for 2 for 20. Let me think about that. Oh, no. How about 19 or whatever the number is that would enable them to have Paul George and Klay, or maybe they couldn't, So at that point, why do that, especially when you heard that the Mavs are interested in Klay, and you think about that and you go, well, Nico Harrison's pretty damn good, so he'll make it happen. So
yeah, he's been doing well.
I'm happy for you, Klay. At that point,
it's just what he wanted. It's just what he, even asking Steph not to step in and everything. Just, but that's okay.
It's Kings, Warriors, Spurs, but it's really the Warriors. I just don't know that the Kings and the Spurs want to do that. Why would the Spurs want to give their picks away? So that, it's just pretty, step one reasons why the Warriors are ahead of the Kings and Spurs. The Kings, the first thing I would look at is, we haven't talked about this, have we? I don't want to get too down a rabbit hole, but why would they want Lauri to be on the same floor as Sabonis?
Well, I think
Strange to me. Aren't they overlapping a little bit? Aren't they a little bit overlapping, or maybe not? Maybe Markkanen's less of a passer.
No, I think probably you would play Markkanen more as a rim protector, maybe, and Sabonis defensively, obviously, whereas Sabonis would be your center and Markkanen would be the stretch four. The problem is the Spurs have Wembanyama, and you expect that team to start to get pretty good kind of quickly, right? So the value of the quality of those picks would probably get worse over time. I think that's a big thing. Here, pro sports transactions. Look at Sacramento Kings picks. Okay, they have 26 to 27, 28, 20. So, yeah, they have basically all their first round picks except for next year, which is I guess having those picks unprotected and not being pick swaps could be more attractive. But if they're not giving up Keegan Murray, I don't know if they have the talented young player coming back for the Jazz that the Warriors can offer. Again, especially if they up the ante. And people in here are saying they don't want to give up Murray. Well, then I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Sacramento's offer is going to be. I do feel though that the Warriors offer is, if we wanted to go there, we can match probably just about.
Okay. So that's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up though, and I'm sorry to interrupt again.
No, please.
But when you say I don't know what Sacramento's offer is going to be, or I don't know whose offers, like what the Klay situation taught me was that it wasn't all about you make an offer, and let me choose between the offers.
Yeah.
It's more like a fluid situation. And from what we're hearing from just, NBA reporters that are very reputable out there, and this is, beyond the scope of the Monty Show, right? You understand there's different roles happening here. The Monty Show will take a deep salary cap look at Lauri Markannen as it pertains to Utah. And then the sources coming from NBA reporters, whether it's Monty Poole with his Warriors sources, Slater with his Warriors sources, Shams with his NBA sources, they're saying that the Warriors are in pursuit of Lauri. And we're not really hearing the same of Sacramento and the Spurs. So it's like, for them, it's like the Spurs and Sacramento are like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's not like they're really wanting to move this deal along to get Ainge's A, B, C, D, and E, right? So I don't know that there is a offer per se coming from Sacramento. It's just that whatever they're doing, like maybe they don't have a mechanism like a Wiggs contract to go and get a whole bunch of draft picks. Or you did look at Sacramento's draft picks earlier. My bad. I was answering comments. I just kind of heard with one ear that you were doing that. So maybe they already have them. Yeah. Maybe what they have isn't enough, and they're just like pondering, and they're like, that's a lot to give up for a guy that we've got our style, and De'Aaron Fox, streaking the floor is kind of our style, and then meanwhile San Antonio, well, we got Wemby, so like, and then we want to keep our picks, so like, so I don't even know that they're going to make an offer. Like, so when you say we don't know what Sacramento's offer is or the Spurs offer is, I don't know that it's really like that paradigm. It's just that it's pretty clear to me the Warriors are working their asses off to get this Markkanen deal done. So you're going to tell me that we're not going to be able to get this done? Come on. We're going to get this done. Like, how can we not? We've gone this far. Like, we've ran, we've run a punt return now. This is all in slow motion. And we're on the 20-yard line. Why the F would we stop? Or, what something could derail it. No doubt. We haven't scored the touchdown yet. But if we're already in motion to score this touchdown, why wouldn't we want to reach the touchdown? You get me on that? It's just like everything. Yeah. It's like momentum. It's also the Klay situation. Clay's thing was momentum or lack thereof. It was already done. So we're thinking, oh, what's the offer? What's the offer? It's different than that. Or it can be. Sometimes it is that. Who knows? Maybe Paul George's situation was like that. But anyways, I hope that, I just wanted to reinforce.
Well, also the Paul George situation.
We're the Warriors, man. Come on.
Yeah. I think the Paul George situation, the Clippers were not interested in trading with us. I don't think they were. I don't think the Jazz have that feeling, Also, it feels like people have been interested in Markkanen for a long time. I don't, but at least since he came to Utah off of the Donovan Mitchell trade. But it does feel like when the Warriors pivoted to targeting Markkanen, and we've seen credible reports again and again about he's their number one target. He's the Warriors are being very aggressive in going after him. That's when all these other teams started to kind of pick up too, and that could just be the time of the season. With
with Sacramento and San Antonio.
Yeah, with him being the biggest name left, but
I don't know that it was like that. It was just that. Okay, so that's my homework. I'm going to try and find out where the San Antonio and Sacramento rumors came from and the timeline of it. Right. See, that's what I do. Like nobody else does that. Radio station's not going to do that. Because I will give you that. If suddenly we are, like having to compete against Sacramento and San Antonio, like it's not so much we're competing with Sacramento and San Antonio. In that paradigm, you would go, oh, but we have JK. Oh, but we have pods, right? It's not that paradigm. The paradigm is that Ainge wants A, B, C, D, and E. Dude that tried to throw me under the bus for how else am I supposed to say this? Ainge wants a list of things. I don't know what it is. It's probably not a player. It's probably draft picks, because if it was a player, I think we would know about it by now, right?
Well, there has to be some player going to the Jazz too.
He wants 5. Let me finish my point. Maybe he wants 5 draft picks or something like that. I mean, like we're already in the process of doing that. Like, do you see what I mean? It's not the paradigm of, so I got to find out where did this San Antonio and Sacramento thing come from, because that could have been from a different timeline. We don't know. Whereas your radio station is going to take that at surface level, and they don't know how to sort the information out there like I do. So then now you're confused even more. You're like, oh, but what about Sacramento? Oh, yeah, I don't think it's happening because, Sacramento. Or, oh, I don't think it's happening because, San Antonio's draft picks. I'm trying to get you to think outside of that box. I'm trying to get you to think that this is like we returned a punt. We're returning it. Oh, it's getting more momentum. Oh, we're at the 50-yard line. And then now, when Monty Poole tweets out that we're aggressive and it's like the number one priority now, then we're like on the 50-yard line. Now we're rushing to the 20-yard line. Yes, we could get tackled before the touchdown, but like it's a different paradigm. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's just really hard to explain that. I'll figure out a way to explain it. So far, the punt return metaphor is the only thing I got, but like So I just think you got to think of this in a different, from a different angle. Anyways, I think I'll just be repeating myself. And the funny thing is, I'm very willing to be wrong. I don't mind being wrong because I'd rather spend all this time convinced that the facts that I have lead me to believe in this excitement and having this joy and excitement and sharing it with you and giving you the reasons why to have this joy and excitement and then being wrong than to not have it at all or to spend all day being negative, saying, oh man, we're wasting Curry's prime, and then A, B, and C, and D, and E on that one. Like all the reasons why we're wasting Curry's prime. I don't know. I'm just sick of that. Like, that's not fun. That's not interesting. That's not awe-inspiring. That's not inspirational. That's not what Steph would do. This is different. Like, you're just not going to get this anywhere else. It's different and it's valid. Like, show me where my logic's wrong. I want you to show me where my logic's wrong because so far I haven't found enough. Sacramento and San Antonio thing. All right, I'll go look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's much more fun, at least trying to think of it like, well, you know who can't say, man, we're cooked? Mike Dunleavy Jr. He can't say that. He has to try something, right? I mean, I don't even want to say unless we lose Steph, which obviously, that would be horrible, horrible thing to happen. So, how do we actually get better? What's the best? Thank you, Rod M. Gave us $2. Thank you very much.
Rod M. Is it the same Rod M? How many accounts does he have? Because I have a red one or a purple one, and then the blue one, and then the green one. But whatever it is, Rod M. I'm glad we were able to. Oh, and Ion, dude, what?
Yeah, that's pretty positive right there, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, Ion. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you for letting me interrupt you with my passion.
Oh, well, if you guys are new here, we talk this stuff out, all the time. And obviously, if you don't know, the biggest thing we like to do here is to watch the games and then have long discussions about the actual basketball games afterwards. But one thing that we can take away is that this team has shown a level of hustle. Really, I guess is the best way I can say it. In trying to aggressively go after the players that they really want. Very early on, and do kind of miss Bob Myers, soft touch and everything, but maybe this is what we need for right now. Since Klay's decision did change as Draymond said, I don't think it'll change anything about their relationship with one another, but it changed what's happening on the basketball court. Maybe this is exactly the kind of thing that the Warriors front office, can use to reshape the team, and we like to try and think of things, as if, well, we like to try and take it positively, but kind of personally, as if we were there, as if, if you insult a player, like try and picture yourself saying that to their face, if you get something wrong, admit it, if you don't know what's going on, we'll talk it out, we'll work it out, and that's why there are times when you can spend just about a quarter of your day on here, just as long as you're respectful, as long as you aren't throwing guys under the bus. we have a really really good time, as all of our regulars can attest. I'm sure we have a really good time just thinking through everything and of course putting out our own opinions. Again, we're not the GM or anything like that, but just trying to understand it from within the organization, everything like that. And if there's any critique to be made, trust me, go back and watch Rich talk about Steph's turnovers. That's Steph Curry. Like, he's our favorite, but we'll talk about it. But we don't dwell on that. We don't get upset or anything like
Sooner or
that.
later, you kind of laugh at it and you go, "Oh, that's our Steph."
Yeah, exactly. And
You learn to love them for who they are, which is the same thing that I went through the process of with Klay. And in fact, I wrote a pretty damning article on the website. I need to write another one with I was kind of negative in that I was upset that Klay was upset for the Warriors pursuing Paul George. So I was upset at him for that. But it was in the moment, and I wanted to kind of I was too wanting to be right about what was going to transpire with the negotiations and stuff like that. Like how could he, and is that maybe is he playing 4D chess, or is he the worst negotiator of all time because now he's got a Lakers possibility at 12.8 million for Klay being the worst negotiator ever. So it's kind of negative there, but now I want to make that right. And then now I know next time, really, really think it over. Use that as a learning experience. But yeah, I owe Klay even though if he doesn't read my stuff, I just feel like it's all, I love him for who he is. I actually like now. I used to be troubled, just a couple days ago. I was troubled by the fact that Klay would have spite and want to leave and go and pursue the Mavs. Although that's a heck of a place to land, man. Kudos to you. But now it's I wish this feels way better than that, right? This, me, loving him for the fact that he gets that way. So now I can kind of laugh at the last season. All the things that Slater wrote about, all the things that Shelburne wrote about, although Shelburne, it was like a better article in terms of she had that golf course thing and she had the 2 years for 20 million thing. So I feel like her article was a little bit more positive than the Slater one, which not that he wanted to paint a bad picture, but it was more like, yeah, Klay was miserable this past season. And maybe, he was, maybe it's perfectly valid to use that label, but it's like, now I'm like, it's like, I find the beauty in that. I find the beauty in that Klay was miserable and we didn't really have a way to clear that misery, if you will. So
other than just accepting whatever he needed, and I think the Warriors did that.
Yep. Yeah. Instead of thinking of it as, oh, all these things didn't happen and Klay going to the bench or this and that and the other thing, or even our analysis, which was great, Eric G, as we were thinking that Orlando would be the best landing spot. Wow, we forgot about Dallas. No, but where Eric G literally flat out said, what Steph does well, Klay does well. What Steph doesn't do well on defense, Klay doesn't do well on defense. Like, it's a repeat of the warts, and they're older. Instead of kind of looking, even though that's kind of factual and that's kind of scouting report wise, the bad parts of the roster with Klay, well, hey, he found a place where that's going to fit better. And you know what? It's just like there's some beauty in all of this, in that this happened, shit happened, and the solution was the freaking Mavs. Think about that for a sec. That's pretty crazy. And then I wanted to say something else that was crazy, and it's skipping my mind. So I'm gonna go timestamp that. Why I'm back to loving Klay. I like him even better now than I did during the season, because we were going through that misery. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, to look at things and how things fit. Oh, okay. The last thing, and I'll let you speak, Dean.
Yeah, thank you.
For this to end this way and finding such a perfect fit, I know I said earlier this isn't a Klay video, but now that we're 2 hours into it, we can branch off a little bit. I do want to, when we end this, we'll bring it right back to Lauri. But Klay finding the freaking Mavericks as a landing spot. And I wasn't totally negative in here on the website. I did say that one thing, which I'm going to repeat now, is I think Klay deserves it. He lost 2 years. And I also love him more now because I get it now more. Like, the guy couldn't play basketball for 2 years. Yeah. Of course, he's still itching to play. He lost 2 years. So his timeline got, just nuked by 2 years. So it's like, I don't know, Marvel timeline thing, Marvel timeline stuff. Like, he needs to go back in time 2 years. Dude, let him, right? He deserves it. The dude he was snapped. Dude was snapped for 2 years.
In his prime, right at the peak of his prime.
Prime. Let him go to the Mavs. Let him be upset that he's not starting. Let him shoot shots and shoot 0 for 10 and try for that 11th, because he still might hit 4 in a row after that and win a game. Let him do that. Why? Dude, man, he's been through the worst you could ever imagine a basketball player going through, man.
No, definitely. And also, like, what it's like when, I think almost everybody on here knows what it's like when something at work has changed. But that's the same building and that's the same house and it's the same people. And sometimes, man, you do just need to get away from it all, really, and try new experiences and just be in a different environment, maybe be under a little bit less pressure, not pressure to play great. Klay's always going to put that on himself, but pressure to live up to something that you felt like you lost and are trying to get back to. I just totally sympathize with that, I really do. And I think it was also kind of a brave move too, because everybody thinks their signings are going to go great in the off season. And Klay must know that he has more of a safety net here for those 0 for 10 type performances than you would have in Dallas. But man, 0 for 10, that's not a punishment. You're still getting paid millions to play basketball. Take a gentle risk, and go try something new. Go where you want to go. Again, next to 2 Hall of Famers, real chance to compete for title number 5 for him, on a team that desperately needs a player like him. And as I texted Rich, Klay signed, a 3-year deal, but player option in the third. And with the way the cap's going, wouldn't be surprised if he opted out of that. And we've been without Klay Thompson for 2 years before, And there's nothing saying that he couldn't come back. Andre Iguodala was away from the Warriors for 2 years. 2020 and 2021. He came back.
Klay.
Yeah, you can still retire a Warrior, buddy. Always an open door. Always.
26. 26, 27, 27, 28. So
That's
summer
player option.
player
Right.
option. Yeah, but he's going to take it. 17 million at age 38.
Well, but it might be a higher percentage of the cap though that he can get, or the same percentage of the cap at a higher dollar
Okay,
amount.
worst case scenario then. Summer 2028, sign with
Yep.
the Warriors. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, Dwayne
Why
Wade
not?
back to the Miami.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade back to Miami. I saw that too. That came off of a contract extension that they couldn't agree upon. D.Wade left and finished out the career there. There's, I mean, he's coming back anyway for the jersey retirement, for the statue, for the anniversaries, the multiple anniversaries that they're going to have. Oh, yeah, you're right. You might be right, Bruce. Oh, and thank you for that $2 again, huh? Opening night game against
Mavs versus Warriors?
I think. Are you saying maybe versus the Mavericks? Lauri to the Warriors opening night game versus the Mavericks. Please let us know which one you were talking about though. But you can't rule that out, you know. I think you just, because there's always going to be that connection there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not ruling that out. Yeah, man. Klay. I'm glad that Klay is I guess taking a little bit of a chance on himself, and on a new experience. I think that's great. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Rod said Mavs versus Warriors. Yep.
Oh, but it was who in the NBA? Alex Caruso tweeted that Mavs Warriors should be on Christmas.
Yeah, I think it would. You don't want the Christmas teams to be not doing great record wise.
Yeah, but everyone's watching that. Even if the Mavs are, even if the Mavs are 500 and the Warriors are 333, they should do that. It'll get the most ratings.
333 is not what I'm hoping for at all. But just the narratives. I mean, it's a Christmas game. It's no, other than being Christmas, it's no different than any other win or loss, on the record sheet. So give us a little Klay Thompson versus Golden State Christmas game. It's gonna be fun to see him, and I really hope that we see him very happy and playing well with Kyrie and Luka and everything like that. So yeah.
Lauri followed Draymond recently on IG. Email me that, and whatever else I asked somebody to email me. I guess the research on Keegan from Sacramento being in the deal or whatever. That's not consistent with the educated guess that Ainge wants picks. So I would love to research that, because if I do the research on where did the Keegan rumor come from, then maybe that would change my whole outlook on this. I'm all for facts. I just want to look at facts and see how real they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also very much a situation still in flux. To be fair, a lot of the other, how should we say it, less multifaceted ideas that we've had, the contracts have been set, the players are, the picks are known well in advance, of course, but all the contracts are set, and honestly, those tools just haven't been updated yet. So it will it would be a little easier maybe to try and predict what these teams want when we know, for instance, how much the Jazz first round picks are making, to look at their contracts, to if the Buddy Hield trade is part of this or not, because you would think that part of the trade exception that remains, which if you want to picture it, it's kind of like Klay created $16 million worth of, or maybe I think might have been $15.9 million worth of a mini cap space that we were able to trade. Kyle Anderson's, again, nine million average. It does it start? Is it 9 million every year? Does it start at 8 point? I don't. We don't know that yet. So, it's July 3rd. We're trying to work through all this news, trying to understand what the Warriors' next moves are, and I think both Rich and I and the regulars on here, and hopefully our new guests, are feeling much more optimistic that this isn't that this isn't just, Warriors are kind of in the mix. Like they're really making real offers for Paul George that didn't work out, and then onto Lauri Markanen, getting solid veterans, potentially including Buddy Hield as well, and of course Lindy Waters third, and then retrading for that pick that got sent out for Quentin Post. The Warriors are showing the ability to get deals done in the off season, and again, as Rich was saying, we brought. I don't watch a ton of I don't watch any football actually, but I do like this. I do like this analogy where like we've gotten the ball into the red zone. We haven't converted yet, but you can tell that the team's really going for it. And based on some of the smaller moves, based on, again, a little bit, more, what would Steve call it? The real NBA, right? Where you don't have three guys on the team for. We had Klay for as long as the Celtics had Bird, man, or Russell, or the Bulls had Jordan. Like, it was a whole career. Now, 2 of those years were quite tragically injured, but, once that changed, I think, the approach of the front office changed a lot too. And that gives me confidence that there's real possibility that we could get a player who I really think would be a tremendous benefit for all the players, who would remain on the team. If not, then on to the next thing. But it feels good knowing that. Well, and it's not just because I was saying I wanted Markkanen. I'm being completely serious about this. It feels good knowing that Lauri Markanen can benefit the Warriors in a way that I think very few other players can. And I think, I really like Markkanen's fit, but Paul George as well, and that the Warriors are not content to run it back or sit around or anything like that. And based on the way the team has been built, based on the having all but one of our draft picks, based on the salary moves that we made, based on the long continuity between Draymond and Steph, that the Warriors might still have a little bit more magic in them than people had thought. So it just makes me very confident, that this team will keep trying to compete for as long as we have the greatest pound for pound player ever, Wardell, Stephen Curry II, and of course Draymond, Jamal Green as well. And Anderson is versatile, absolutely. I love that pickup. At first, I wasn't super thrilled about Anthony Melton, only because he's 6'2", and I forgot what he looked like in that Grizzlies series. But there was a great minute long clip of his defensive highlights, against the Warriors, and a lot of them were like him blocking Steph's jumper, who obviously gets it off just about quicker than anyone ever, and maybe just about the quickest ever. Flying through the air and getting blocks for a guy at 6'2" with a 6'8.5" wingspan. It's pretty remarkable what he's able to do. Kyle Anderson, again, is a guy that Rich and I really, Rich texted me in the middle of the season, I think, or near the end of the season. He's like, "What do you think about Kyle Anderson?" Just said, "Oh man, he's a perfect fit for the Warriors," and Rich, agreed with that. And his ability to shoot and play make next to Draymond is something that hasn't been talked about a ton. Obviously, Klay and Markkanen and all that has taken up a lot of the airspace, but not just Kyle Anderson, his game alone, but like putting that next to Draymond, that really excites me, and I love the aggressiveness of the front office. If nothing comes out of it, we still have a lot of really talented young players, man. We have a lot of really talented young players, and I guess I just really appreciate that the front office has given us reason for it not that we would ever have thought that way on here, but I don't want to say give us reason not to look bleak, but it's given us results that we can say, well, this stuff actually, helps to reshape this new team and this new look that we're going to have, obviously without one half of the Splash Brothers, but I just think it's pretty incredible that they've been able to pull that off between what Klay signed on July 2nd, wasn't it, with the Mavericks, and it's July 3rd now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive, I think, from this new front office. Oh, thank you, Rod M, whichever one you are. So this is fresh perspective.
While I got you, I just commented on that. Can you go through our starting lineup with Lauri in it? Or
so, I had been thinking about a J.K. Moody Looney deal for maybe Lauri and Kessler, because the CBA is very complex, and I didn't realize that the Warriors couldn't offer him the same amount of money until he got up to 34. So I had Wiggins back there. I think right now it's probably with Lauri. I think you would probably have to go Curry, obviously at the point guard, offensively. Melton at the 2. I guess you probably do Anderson at the 3. Oh man, yeah.
Previously, someone in the comments, yeah, we talked about it, said that Wiggins could effectively leave a void
Yeah,
at wing, and it sounds like, yeah, you might be right on that. But
maybe.
the cost of getting
Maybe.
Lowry, and look,
Although,
I mean, we're speculating that Wiggins is being shopped or making room for Lowry using the Wiggins contract, therefore getting off of Wiggs' contract. But I haven't done the spreadsheet yet to kind of know if that is definite or not. I feel like it is.
well, if we keep Kuminga, you'd imagine that actually maybe the lineup would be Curry, uh, Melton, Kuminga, Draymond, Markkanen, right?
Say that one more time.
Curry, Melton, Kuminga, Draymond, and Markkanen.
Yeah. Yeah, Markkanen plays center. Yeah, he'll play the
Mhm.
5. TJD off the bench.
Yep.
It's okay.
Mhm.
Suddenly we got a 5 that's better than TJD. No big deal.
Ah, he's young. Anyway.
I thought Pods is starting at the 2.
Well, I really like.
Dude,
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure he's starting.
Yeah, I could see that too. I kind of like Melton's ability to be that guy who can handle the other team's main ball handler. Just because he seems to have a lot of athleticism and again he's 6'2" and has a 6'8.5" wingspan. And I was kind of thinking, that I mean you can't compare him to Klay at all, but just put him on the other team's ball handler, and then space him out to set him up to shoot, catch and shoot type threes and things like that. I think that would be pretty interesting, and it would allow BP to me, to be more of the backup point guard, and in Kerr's system, the backup point guard is always. Oh, thank you, Rob. Again, man. All the major moves happen on July the 4th. Yeah, that's true.
July 4th. I will always remember July 4th as well. My friend Lizette, it's her birthday on July 4th. But also KD, man. It's hard
absolutely.
to think of KD when we Warriors fans on Let's Go Warriors think of July 4th.
Yeah. Man. Felt like all the fireworks going off in the country were for that, or just for Dub Nation. Yeah.
Okay, back to can you summarize the rotation again? I guess there's a debate about Podziemski. I just kind of get the sense of I'm putting the facts together. So for Klay to be upset, part of it is him not starting. Why is he not starting? Because we would start Pods. So that's why I'm kind of getting I think Pods would start logic from. So we're going to go through all that and then not start Pods. Then why didn't we do that in the beginning? And maybe we would still have Klay type of deal, but that's, more than 6 weeks ago before the golf invite from Lacob, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I think Pods starts.
I mean, I can see that. He is taller anyways, like 6'5".
But Mike V also says at the 1, Pods should slide to the 1, but come in the second unit. So I disagree with the second unit part based on factual. I actually haven't. I just said this in the comments. I haven't spent any energy on thinking about Lowry in our rotation because
Podziemski could be in the deal as well, too, of course.
But I want to get away from saying that unless you say, it's nuanced. I don't think Podziemski's in the deal. I know you're saying you want to cover all your bases, but at the same time, I'm also saying that I would be shocked if there were any players in this deal going to Utah. I think they're in the process of getting rid of players. Now, you're right, though. You never know. It could be Pods. And Pods' contract is small. So he would accept Pods' contract. He'd probably accept Kuminga's contract if it ever came to that. And then now people logging on right now are thinking that we just talked about Pods and Kuminga in a deal, when in fact we're not really talking about that. Anyway, yeah. So I just had to put the caveat to your caveat, which is crazy. We're doing caveats to caveats.
No, I appreciate that.
So
although I do think there has to be some salary matching for Markkanen's contract, because the Jazz don't have cap space anymore, I believe. But who knows? Who knows how that could go down? I don't. Again, we don't even know the full details of everybody's salaries on the move yet. So just say we keep.
Oh, hold on. If we get Lauri, we're getting Hield, I think. I don't know how. I got to do the spreadsheet real bad. I don't know how, but don't you think we should do a rotation that includes both Lauri and Hield? Wouldn't Hield start? Or are we too small? Too small, huh? Dang, that's small.
Yeah,
Pod,
I don't.
Steph, Buddy. Oh God, that's small. And Draymond. That's too small. But
I don't know if Hield was a starter on the Sixers.
No, he wasn't. But according to my Sixers buddy, he said that Hield didn't play 3 straight games because his defense was so bad. He said he's an orange cone. That's how bad he is.
Let's take him off the bench then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hield isn't starting because his defense sucks. Okay.
Yep. So the reason I personally, while I understand
at the 3, yeah.
Huh?
JK at the 3. Problem
JK
solved.
at the 3, yeah. Which I think. Oh, I'm sorry.
He just has to play 3 and shoot and hit threes when he's open.
That's one great thing I think, along with everything else that Markkanen does, is that offensively he doesn't really have to play the 5. I mean that's quite a bit of room for maybe Draymond with the ball in his hands a little bit more of a point guard role. If you have Steph and Markkanen out there, they're going to draw a lot of attention, and both BP and Melton can and Anderson. Let's not forget Kyle Anderson here. They can all shoot the ball fairly well, as well. You can't. I mean, you're not going to sag off of them. So I think that helps open up Kuminga to do what, I don't know how many guys were watching Tano, but when Kuminga was really, really, really rolling, when he was getting plenty of minutes, when he was starting and everything like that, there'd be a bunch of games where he didn't take a 3, or he took 1 3 near the end of the game. It was just constantly going to the hoop, and that actually really worked for us, So when I say JK at 3, I'm really especially thinking of that Andrew Wiggins type defensive role. I know people have some questions about JK's, defense and everything like that. I think the effort's there, obviously, as a physical tools. I think he has the motor and the desire to do it, and a big part of it would be reps. Other people, they don't think that way, and that's totally fine. He's 21. We don't really know how we don't really know what his ceiling is yet. And if you think you do, there are plenty of 21-year-olds in the NBA who years after that, it's totally different thing. I think if he were Steph, he would have just been drafted this year. I think 21 going on 22. Yeah, that's when Steph got drafted into the NBA. You know, so this is not a risk-free move. This is not Kevin Durant joining the 73-9 2016 Warriors. You know, which is basically as close to a risk-free move as you can find in the NBA. But trying JK at 3 as being the issue you need to address, that's, you know, we're not like saccharin or anything up, you know, on this channel, overly sweet. Man, that is not a real problem, even in the NBA. Oh, you know, can our talented lottery pick, you know, become Jaylen Brown? Maybe. We'll see. That's not like we have no idea how to add young talent because we're in, you know, salary cap hell, and we don't have any depth, and we don't have any picks left, and it's just, you know, if there's one thing I hope that everyone takes from this channel is that one of the reasons me and Rich have so much fun doing this is because of appreciation, you know, of the difference between, I guess, relative and absolute, you know, issues. We have relative issues that we need to address, but absolute ones, you know, yeah, we need someone like Markkanen, I would say, for us to really make the most of the season. But there are some teams that have bad chemistry, you know. I mean, look at, can you imagine if we saw something like, and I don't mean to throw any of these people under the bus, of course, but like the Monty Williams situation in Detroit, where there's this massive offer, you come in, have close to the worst season ever, and then the guy gets fired by the end of the season, and you're on a team with a bunch of young players with hardly any vets. That's, you know, that's not something that, I mean, it's definitely something the Warriors have experienced in the past. If you know anything about the Warriors before Steph got there, and after, obviously, you know, Wilt and Darman and Barry and all those guys left. But, you know, the Warriors are not anywhere close to that. And from all the pain of having lost Klay to pivot this quickly to a real chance, I think, to be a dangerous and also potentially a very fun, entertaining team. You know, if you can't appreciate that, try looking at some of the other teams that didn't make the conference finals. You know, and see how they're doing. And I just, there is something special about the way, at least, you know, around Steph Curry, that this team is operated, and I feel it all the time. And it's just like, wow, we still have options. You know, whether they hit or not, at least we have opportunity. And there might not be anything worse in the world than feeling like you have no opportunities left. That's a horrible feeling. Yeah. And I definitely don't feel that way about the Dubs.
All right, and new people jumping into the the chat. So I'm going to say, Steven, I'm finishing up a note in the description right now. Thank you for bringing that up. And Dean, why don't you go ahead and just summarize that?
You're talking about Stephen Camp?
Answer to Stephen Camp's question kind of encapsulates the whole live stream.
Yep. So me and Rich had different ideas, but having listened to the Monty Show, which is a Utah-based, they talk about different sports and stuff, but they're very deep into the Jazz, and they're really deep. They're really talking very deeply about this Warriors situation with Markkanen, as well as the Spurs and some other things too. But they were pointing out that it seems like Danny Ainge is really, really focused on draft picks and perhaps some cheaper salaries, as well as whatever it takes. As well as they were talking a lot about having to move on from Wiggins to be able to add more money onto Markkanen's salary this year, to be able to offer him a much larger extension when he becomes a free agent, and because the Warriors are trading for him now, unlike signing a free agent, they would get bird rights and they would be able to keep him because they're taking on that contract. And so that's what we think that basically that Danny Ainge is looking for is mostly draft capital, and probably if this trade were to go through, probably going for the number one pick and cutting salaries and probably moving on from some of the other veterans and seeing what they have from guys like Keontae George and Cody Williams and Taylor Hendricks and some of their other young guys, and just really trying to build, really trying to do maybe halfway between what happened with Boston when Ainge was there, when they kind of got rid of Garnett and Pierce, as well as a little bit of what OKC was doing. If I could summarize it that way, I think that's just about what I picked up, and that's really what we were talking about, and just wanted to share with all of you. I'm
good. Red Eyes Robotics brought up Moody. We haven't talked about Moody at all. We haven't even talked about Moody during our texts with each other.
Yeah.
I need to do the spreadsheet so badly to see if Moody needs to be included in any offloading of space for Lauri. It's only $5 million though, but it might make a difference.
I would say that, every little part of this transaction, especially with us being hard capped at the first apron, every little dollar in salary that gets moved is probably going to be pretty important. Along with the fact, of course, that Moody and J.K. are both going to need contract extensions, because I don't think they're going to retire next season. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. We'll have to see if the Hield trade is related, or if it's just a kind of vertical move, or is it horizontal? I think maybe it's horizontal. But yeah, well, it seems like Moody has been in conversations a lot, just because of how hard it's been to break, the Warriors rotation for him. But what we know is that Ainge wants picks, as many picks as he can get, probably. You know,
And we know this because it's like Ainge has a list. You need to meet his list. And
that's been his MO for a long, long time too.
we just haven't, we haven't heard of what player he wants. Dean, at the trade deadline, Dean came up with an idea to get Markkanen, and the big reveal was that Ainge really wanted Jaylen Brown. So step A, B, C, boom, do all these things, trade with the Warriors get Markkanen, and then you get Jaylen Brown at some point. But that was more like Dean coming up with a way to end up with Markkanen on the Warriors back then, and Ainge with something that he covets.
Yeah.
We'll really never know what he covets, but whatever he covets, it always feels like there's draft picks involved to get there. And so that's why we deduce that what we need to deliver Ainge right now, we meaning the Warriors, are more draft picks. We don't know what types. We don't know what swaps. We don't know how many. But we have enough circumstantial evidence, I'll say, and talking it through to just kind of come to an educated guess that is what the Warriors are working on right now. Because if it was Kuminga, it would have been done already, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm also now introducing the timing factor because Mike V brought it up. And Mike V, you're probably joining late because we've mentioned this now 3 times, I think, in the last 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is normal. It's normal for a live stream, not blaming you for anything. But yeah, if JK wasn't in the Paul George deal, then it's all of these are series of logical thinking. Okay. It's like Lieutenant Commander Data, Star Trek episode. Blah, 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 blah. Lieutenant Commander Data comes up with some conclusion. And we're all like, what? How did you come up with that? Or Spock in the old series. And it's like all these logical conclusions. So the logical conclusion of, well, if JK was expendable in a deal, then we would have got Paul George. We wouldn't even be on this timeline. But the fact that we didn't get Paul George, Clippers wanted JK. That's been reported. That's like fact. It's literal fact.
Yeah.
So that tells me Lacob doesn't want to part with JK. The other circumstantial evidence was from the podcast of the Monty Show, the Jazz guys, and they were like, Ainge has a list of things. You must meet that list or else I'm not talking to you. And I feel like that list isn't player-based. So when you start, look, I started this morning thinking the same thing. What is it? What does he want? Are we in a stare down about Kuminga? Pods? Both? Would I even trade JK and Pods? And I texted Dean and we go, you know what? We would. And then but then that gave me the confidence that like, oh, so Joe Lacob must be really confident. Or what did he say to Melton and Kyle Anderson? That they wanted to come here. Couldn't they go somewhere else? I mean, nobody else had a non-taxpayer mid-level for Melton. Come on. Kyle Anderson, he's taking a pay cut. He made more than $9 million. Now he's making $9 million. And the third year, because he came in on a traded player, right? Minimum 3
traded player exception. Yep.
Yeah, traded player exception. My bad. That's what I meant. TPE. Those need to be 3 years, right?
I know. Well, it's a sign and trade, so I would say yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Sign and trade.
That's why. Sign and trade, not the traded player exception. Because of the sign and trade.
I believe, yep.
See, this is why salary cap understanding is so important. That's why I've learned this year. And I'm so fortunate to have just had the desire over the last 2 years, because everybody was bringing up trades. Oh, we should trade for Giannis and this and that, right? Last couple of years, right? Or 3 years. I started familiarizing myself with these salary cap tables. Then I started looking at them every day. And once you start, making that part of the regular website that you visit and going up to here and changing Utah Jazz to Golden State, like, you have no choice but to learn this stuff. And that's what separates the high IQ fans from the casual fans. Literally, it's that. Or the loyalty and rooting for your team, where if you don't want to worry about salary cap tables and you just want to have good vibes, then you can also partake in all these discussions, because you're bringing the energy. You are our Juan Toscano Anderson. You are our, GP2, although GP2 is, his defense is all-star level, okay? So I'm not calling GP2 a scrub per se. I'm not calling JTA a scrub. I'm just saying they have a role, right? So that role, Lester Quinones, you see how he's the best dancer on the Warriors. And GP2 too. When GP2 injured GP2, the energy. So we love the energy guys that aren't like, oh, Debbie Downers, like, oh, our GM sucks, or oh, we can't waste Steph's prime, or oh, we Steve needs to be fired, stuff like that. So that's cool too. But also when we do what we do to give inspiration on deals like Markkanen, on pursuits of Markkanen, the understanding of the salary cap is totally vitally important. So to know that signing and trading for Kyle Anderson requires a third year then leads to the next logical step. The third year is non-guaranteed, which then leads to the next logical step, which is, why the hell would he take that contract? Which then leads to the next logical step, which is like, dude, they're excited about something. They want to come to the Warriors. They're excited about something. What is that? It has to be Markkanen. Not only that, it has to be that we are very confident in getting Markkanen, or else why would they just sign on the dotted line so quickly? But I could be wrong. That's the disclaimer. I could be wrong. I could be missing a key fact, just like my Klay analysis missed the fact that the final meeting was 6 weeks ago. Actually, more than 6 weeks ago.
Right.
Because 6 weeks ago was the golf course invitation, the golf outing between Lacob and Klay. But by then, Klay has said, look, Joe, I'm not coming back, so let's just golf. All right. And then he told Steph, just let me do what I need to do, Steph. Steph honored that, right? So I didn't know that. That's a piece of critical information that would have saved me a lot of, honestly, despising Klay for like 24 hours. Okay. What? Klay, you spited us for wanting Paul George. We're supposed to like do all these things. And yeah, people from Klay's camp hit me up. They were like, dude, don't you realize that Klay's offensive numbers are pretty close to Paul George? And in fact, they are. I shared them on various platforms of ours. And I was like, I've told you this already, Dean, though. It's like on this live stream, other lives. I'm sitting here going, but Paul George, right? Like, I didn't even want to discuss the defense part because I just thought it would rile them up more. And even today, I'm thinking, wait, was that 6 weeks ago that we talked about that? I got to look, but I don't want to scroll my whole exchange with them, but it's like, so they were still, maybe even though Klay had decided to leave at that point, they were still like, oh, they're going after Paul George again rather than but even that part doesn't line up. But look, my point again is that I might be missing some critical piece of information here, which will embarrass me. It would, but I'm still going to go with it, man. I'm going to go. It's like telling Klay, you're 0 for 10, and I'm not 0 for 10. I'm 0 for 1. That's not that bad. telling Klay, you're 0 for 10, man. Just bench yourself. Don't shoot that last shot. You think he's going to do that? No, that Klay is Klay. So I'm going to be me, and I'm going to come back and make these logical conclusions leading to an exciting or logical deductions that lead to an exciting conclusion. I'm going to share that exciting conclusion and explain all the logical deductions to get to that over and over again. That's what I do. I figured that out. I'm going to embrace it just like Klay embraced who he is. I'm going to love myself for that, because there's reasons for loving myself for that too. It's like, now I know what separates me from, podcast A, B, C, D, E, F, G that I'll
Sure.
not name, because then I'm throwing them under the bus.
Sure.
It's like, I don't even want to talk about that. Like, I don't want to compare. Like, I'm just happy doing. We're supposed to get as happy as we can, such that all the things and all the negative things you hear about the Warriors, it just doesn't bother you. You're too excited about this right now. And like I could be wrong, but who cares? This is too exciting. Like, who cares? So I'm just going to be that way. Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah.
Too happy to be sorry about that. So yeah.
No, absolutely.
That disclaimer,
absolutely.
I could be wrong. I really could.
Sure. And so could everybody else, but that's the thing about the off season, man. That's one of the reasons it's so fun. It's one of the reasons it's so stressful and unpleasant. You don't know who's going to be on your team. You don't really know. You can't go back to last night's tape of free agency and go, oh, what did they do right and wrong here? Oh, thank you so much, Tiger Jones. I believe that's his first or her first
what
super chat.
Oh, no way. Yeah. That's awesome.
If you go check on,
I just quickly posted the super chat because it was green colored. I didn't actually read the comment. Now I'm reading the comment. What? At a restaurant? Oh, which restaurant? Just smell the beans. Shut up. He's in the Bay. Checks Instagram. Let's make sure Lauri didn't. The other thing, Dean, we didn't talk about. I was just about to say, let's check and make sure Lauri didn't Instagram story.
That's right. Yeah.
He's in the Bay. But Dean, what are the chances of a happily married dude that has kids posting where they are on Instagram? Not to throw single men under the bus, but
it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same situation. Well, it's if you're saying single men posting where they are on Instagram, right, versus married men with children
posting on Instagram.
Yeah, that's not the same situation family-wise. Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by that's not the same situation. All I'm saying is married with children people, chances are, you don't like to make blanket statements, but like for me to go to Lauri Markkanen's Instagram, which I did right now, just in case he posted something from a restaurant in the Bay Area, for me to find out he didn't post anything, no surprise. I mean, like,
yeah.
You get really busy when you have children. Like it really takes a lot of your time. So,
right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I brought that up because you and I talked about that's another thing that makes the Warriors a really good fit. Like, this isn't like,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I could be wrong to make this comparison, but this isn't, OKC Thunder, where, right, bunch of young guys and they super awesome chemistry, right? The fit of Lauri on OKC, while they would make it work while still good. And maybe that's why Gordon Hayward didn't really fit in all that well, right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's college
generational thing.
I mean, it's great chemistry and it is kind of like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our guys with Steph and Dray are just kind of more family oriented, and it's kind of that culture. maybe that's just one tiny thing in the whole big picture, though. I'm just saying that Lauri being married with children fits the Warriors culture, which is based on Steph and his family culture. I'm just saying there's a fit there as well. It's not the biggest thing. It's just one of the whole mosaic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also just like probably the thing talked about the least during the off season and the most during the playoffs. Like the biggest difference is it's not even friendliness or being amicable or anything like that, because I think most NBA players are like that, but just that like shared locker room experience, and the more life experiences that you have shared, especially of that caliber of having not just children, right? Because children grow up eventually, hopefully, but like taking care of babies, that has to bring a locker room together in that way, and that is not the first thing I would tell Lauri in a pitch.
Right.
Like, oh, our guys have kids too, because exactly. Probably a lot of guys in the NBA do. But it just feels like, not only for a basketball perspective, but from what I know about his personality, that this would be, a great, and you don't know, but it seems like kind of an easy transition, easy fit between all the main guys, and Kuminga too, like he's not a typical American 21-year-old. That dude. To watch Kobe Bryant highlights, he had to go into an internet cafe, way in the center of town and everything like that, and probably had to work pretty hard to make to get enough money from his mom doing chores or whatever to go watch it, and just was away from his parents at 13, when Kuminga's a little different too, and Moody is such an old soul. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true, So I think that's a very important point.
And speaking of which, someone mentioned GP2, Looney. You're right. Their contracts, that's $17 million right there. So I got to do the spreadsheet and see how Lauri would fit. Also with Buddy Hield to fit all of that. Got to do the homework on that. Hope to find out what restaurant Markkanen ate at. And
was there something about him following Draymond or something?
Yeah, that was in the comments as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that's true.
Yeah.
Not saying you're a liar, just, without having seen it, I don't know.
I asked someone to email me that too, so we'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we've now been on 3 hours. I think it's time to wrap up. You got any closing words here, Dean? Because who knows? Something might have happened in the last 3 hours.
Yeah, I have been checking as much as I can to refresh the billion tabs that I have open here. But no, I just, first and foremost, thank you, Rich, for having me on.
Of course, we need you on.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for all of our regulars, and of course for all the new people coming in. 113 likes. We have 178 watching right now. So it's pretty. That feels pretty fun. Just having new people coming, especially people who want to learn or are knowledgeable and respectful and everything like that. Just want to thank everybody for doing that. And there'll never be another Klay Thompson, but he went to Dallas. Nothing worse than that. It's, so.
Nothing what than that?
Nothing worse than him just moving to Dallas happened in that. Like he's still Klay Thompson. He's still a Splash Brother. He's still a Warrior for life. And I just feel very grateful that, you know, um, however,
Nothing worse can happen than.
yeah, I didn't mean there's nothing worse than him going to Dallas. I didn't say that well.
Yeah, don't even say the word worse.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than him going to Dallas. That is the
No, I agree with that. I mean,
dream place you would want to go in this moment and what they need.
I totally agree with that. Yep. Yeah, but all I'm trying to say is we didn't lose Klay Thompson. I don't want to speak of it that way. You get what I mean? I don't want to think about it that way. He's going to trying to win title number 5, and there's going to be a lot of fun times with Dubs and Mavs competing, and that was really, really, really tough to see that happen. But I'm feeling pretty good about the team. At this point, whether there's a Markkanen trade or not, which I really want us to get Markkanen, don't get me wrong. I'm still, not that I don't always feel positive about the team, but I'm very grateful for where the team is positioned, and hopefully trying to get the absolute most out of Steph and Draymond while they're playing. And I don't know, I just I wasn't able to sleep for hours and hours and hours. That's why I'm a little groggy on here. If I hope you forgive me for that. But man, this team is just always exciting, always fun, and God, it's so much fun, just being a part of this. I really don't know what I'd be doing with my life, But I'm glad I chose the Warriors, and I'm glad I chose Let's Go Warriors. Sure.
Yeah, and again, one last time, I'm gonna just do this one last time. We'll get out of here, and then we'll announce the next live. Is that I wondered why Melton and Kyle Anderson would come to the Warriors, and then also the Buddy Hield rumors, and also why those rumors would take place. And I deduced that there had to be something real that was pitched to them to come to the Warriors, given that their contracts aren't don't jump off the page at you. They jump out of the page at you because it's the Warriors. So then you kind of go, why? And again, this is after the Paul George thing. So Melton, Kyle Anderson, now Buddy Hield. And then I see a thing from Sarah Todd where the 95.7 just has a fun game, names off names, like, would Moody move the needle for you? Probably not. Would Wiggins move the needle for you? Probably not. Would J.K.? Oh, definitely J.K. Would Pajemski? Oh, actually, yeah, Pajemski. And then I thought, wait, I would do the deal for Markkanen if it involved J.K. and Pajemski, and maybe that's what they're hung up on. And then I thought, and that reinforced my thinking of the confidence in getting Markkanen. So there had to be confidence that we're going to get Markkanen to pitch that to Melton and Anderson and Hield. And then I happened to watch this podcast. I happened to stumble upon this podcast by The Monty Show. They cover the Jazz. They've been criticized for not having real sources. I don't care if they have real sources or not. It's their salary cap expertise in explaining the August 6th extension deadline. And if you extend Lauri Markanen, then you can't trade him for 6 months, and the trade deadline happening to be exactly 6 months. It's like his agent set this up, or I don't know how it got set up this way, but they'll explain it on here. It's like it set him up to like go to a good team, whereas a bad team wouldn't want to not be able to trade him. Okay? Because you want to be able to get off that contract during trade seasons and get picks for the upcoming draft. And like, you'd be stuck with Markkanen at that point. And so those kinds of salary cap issues made me think that, oh, I could see why Ainge would be open to moving off of Markkanen, probably for picks. I mean, that's what this is kind of all about, especially with 2025, the draft. Eric G, I keep in contact with him, all these ideas that I've been having, all this logical thinking, and he goes, oh, by the way, 2025, because I was thinking, man, if we gave them pods, then man, they got to give us something back for pods, man, because pods is like a draft pick, a future draft pick, but a successful one, and he's still young, and the contract is unbelievably good. And
that's a good way to put it, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm thinking pods is in the trade or whatever, and then meanwhile, Eric G, this is way this morning, right? Eric G goes, oh, nah, you could never get a draft pick out of Ainge if you gave them pods, because like 2025, there's going to be like 10 franchise players. I'm like, dang, it really is an awesome draft.
That's what everybody's saying. Yep.
Then you go on this podcast, you watch it from 0 to 50 minutes, the whole darn thing. Right. There's only like one time when they start to talk about other stuff. Then they go right back to Markkanen, and they go right back to like the Warriors and stuff. And that's when I'm sitting there going, Ainge trading Markkanen right now, like, it makes sense. It's like a good thing to do. Granted, he's stubborn and he really wants to get value on this or else. But then all of these like logical steps, they add up with Monty Poole tweeting that the Warriors are all in, that they're aggressive. And then you have other reporters out there, that have reputable names, whether it's, and I don't know the exact ones, Shams level, Brett Siegel level, that have contacts with executives in the NBA saying that, yeah, the Warriors are trying to get a Markkanen deal done. How innocent is that? They're trying to, that's a safe report. But I'm saying that's important. That's important because, like, why, if we're trying to get a Markkanen deal done, why wouldn't we do everything we can to get it done? And then now you loop back all these little facts. So I had to jump on this live stream. I had to get Dean on here. We've been talking, we've been texting the whole time, just want to verify my thinking. So that's why we're a little scatterbrained today. But we just needed to, send this out there. I know it's kind of like give you guys hope, but I feel like it's logical and it's backed by certain facts. And I will definitely link this one as soon as we get up here.
It's not a bad idea investing in logical hope, putting your trust in that.
Yeah, this one too. Sure. Ainge wants to, he wants to hit the reset button and kind of go OKC style, build this stuff. But then again, he might have something up his sleeve too. You never know.
Oh, I'm sure he does, no matter what happens.
What did he do with, just go look it up, people. Well, with Ainge, right? You could go look up, I don't know. He's done some things. Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce together. He's done some things, so we know that he is shrewd. But yeah, next live tomorrow morning. See, I really want to do this tomorrow morning because I had already arranged to have Rim Review. His name's Alex. Rim Review did a really good scouting report on Quentin Post. So I wanted him to come onto this live, and this guy is kind of new. So of course he's hungry to get his name out there. So we'll have him, but his video was pretty darn good, and we'll link it tomorrow morning in 12 hours. Dean, no obligation to be here, but actually in 12 hours, Guy Santos. And I think I have to pay for that game, but I might just go ahead and do it. It's only €5, €5 on the Courtside 1891 website. But like, I just, I promised that I would do that, so I'll do that. And then I was thinking, I wanted Rim Review to come on, and then I was like, you know what? If we're watching Guy's game and it's being transmitted on Twitch for you guys to see, for example, then how can I have Alex on while we're doing that? So I just told him, you know what? I'm going to push you back to 11. Then Dean and I decided, yeah, let's do the Markkanen live stream right now. And so I'm like, I can't push back Alex again. That'd be like 3 times. So
no,
fairness to him.
He's great too. The
9 a.m.
stuff he produces is awesome.
9 a.m. tomorrow, guys. 12 hours.
Sure.
Closing it out here. Brandon Ingram, yeah, that's someone might snag him, and I don't know that the Pelicans would do that. And this is a Markkanen video.
Yep, absolutely. And also I think it just shows the Markkanen aspect and everything, the value that our players have. Don't you think?
Lauri is more important. I love it when we're talking. I know you guys want to cover all bases, but like, just worry about Markkanen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All Vulcans approve. Thanks, Cholo. All right.
Oh, I know you like that one.
Tomorrow morning. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Rich.
And appreciate everybody giving us the space for both Dean and I to kind of ramble a bit today. Draymond doesn't know anything about rambling. He might ramble, which we love because we just love what's on Draymond's mind, of course. He's more famous than Dean and I, but we ramble too. And Draymond, you don't know what ramble is until you come and ramble with me and Dean, man.
Oh my God, 12 hours, easy.
All right, so we'll see you soon with the Guy Santos watch party, and I'll make sure that you guys can actually watch that game on another platform, of course, but that will commentate. At least I will commentate. So I'm going to go set my alarm, and we'll commentate on Guy Santos.
Gosh, I'll set my alarm too.
Maybe he's joking. Maybe he just wants to. So let's time him out.
Oh, right at the end.
Yeah, he's doing that on purpose. All right. See you, Dean. See you everybody. Let's go Warriors. And actually, let's do the Just Us. And also Brate. I'm surprised you can't hear my air conditioner. Shocked.
I only heard it one time.
Just Us!
Hey.